Sarah. Honey, I need to get your daddy on the phone.
Uncle Tommy, what time is it?
I need to talk to your dad now. There's something...
Hello? Dad? Here you are.
Sarah, are you okay?
What's going on?
It's the Coopers. Something ain't right with them. I think they're sick.
What kind of sick?
Jimmy! Jimmy, just stay back! Jimmy, I am warning you!
Oh my God.
Don't!
You shot him.
Sarah.
I saw him this morning.
Listen to me. We have got to get out of here. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Tommy, come on. Come on.
Where the hell you been? You have any idea what's going on out there?
I got some notion.
Oh, this is bad. Everyone and their mother had the same damn idea.
We could just backtrack and... Turn us around. Tommy! Tommy!
Holy shit!
Dad?
I'm here, baby. I'm here. Come on, give me your hand. What is it?
My leg hurts.
How bad?
Pretty bad.
You're gonna need to run. Now hold on tight. Joel, watch out! Keep your eyes closed, honey. This way! Through the alley! Get to the highway! Go! You got Sarah! I can outrun him!
Uncle Tommy?
I will meet you there!
Daddy, we can't leave him.
He's gonna be fine.
They're getting closer. Dad?
It's okay, baby. We're safe. We're safe. Hey! We need help.
Stop!
Please. It's my daughter. I think her leg is broken.
Stop right there!
We're not sick.
Got a couple of civilians in the outer perimeter. Please advise.
Daddy, what about Uncle Tommy?
We're gonna get you to safety and go back for him, okay?
Sir, there's a little girl. But... Yes, sir.
Shit. Oh, no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby. I know it hurts. Come on, baby. Please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do it.
I'm Christian Spicer. I'm a writer, podcaster, and a huge fan of The Last of Us. And this game means a lot to me, like I'm sure it does to you. And while playing it for the first time back in 2013, I became a dad to a little girl named Estelle, my first child. We nicknamed her Ellie before the game came out, before I knew anything about it. And there I am playing the game late at night, playing through the devastating prologue we just heard. My daughter, Ellie, literally sleeping on my lap. And I witnessed the moment when Sarah dies in Joel's arms. A father holding his daughter as she passes. And from there, the story doesn't let up. This game connected with me on such a human and emotional level. And even though I've replayed it many times, that first playthrough, it sticks with me to this day. Welcome to the official The Last of Us podcast. What you just heard was the gut punch of a prologue for The Last of Us Part 1, a masterpiece of a game that came out in 2013, developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony PlayStation. And while Naughty Dog is getting ready to launch The Last of Us Part 2, I wanted to take the time now to revisit this video game that means so much to so many of us, and I wanted to crawl into the minds of the visionaries and talents who created this groundbreaking work. We'll be recapping the story while also diving deep into the making of. In this episode, we'll be covering the prologue and Summer Part 1, and I'll be talking with Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, also known as Joel and Ellie, and melee and combat designer Anthony Newman, and the writer and creative director of The Last of Us, Neil Druckmann. And since I'm still recovering from that prologue, it seems only fair to start our conversations with the mastermind behind it all, Mr. Neil Druckmann. So jumping into the prologue for The Last of Us Part 1, the player starts the game as Sarah. And so immediately we're playing as a character who isn't the typical video game protagonist, right?
Yes, a lot of those decisions came out of wanting to do something fresh, and then we ended up with all these extra wins that we didn't necessarily plan for. So initially the opening was you played as Joel, and you would go over your neighbor's house and see your neighbor get infected and have to do your first kill there as Joel, then come back to your house and get Sarah and be on your way. But the more we thought about it, it's like, one, it felt like, okay, I've kind of seen that before, So I was like, how do we make this interesting? And then in one of our brainstorms got the idea like, well, what if you saw everything through Sarah's eyes? And that became exciting because you're playing a much more innocent, not as capable person. So you feel the fear of the world kind of falling apart around you.
What is going on?
And you feel more helpless. Dad? We have very limited time with Sarah, and we need to establish this character and create all this empathy because she is the reason why Joel ends up the way he is when we're jumping into the future. And it was a nice foreshadowing of where the story is ultimately going when you play as Ellie. Kind of like you're playing these two daughters that this guy ends up having.
And we get to see this nice little scene of what Joel and Sarah's normal is, with Sarah asleep on the couch, waiting for her father.
We'll talk about it in the morning. All right, good night.
Hey,
Scoot.
Monday at work, huh? Here,
What's this?
your birthday. You kept complaining about your broken watch. So I figured, You like it?
Honey, it's
What?
nice, but I think it's stuck. It's not...
What? No. Oh, ha ha.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Oh, good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
Yeah, you wish.
It's interesting when you put it that way. It makes me think about the structure of The Last of Us, which is each chapter is kind of its own story. So you have to establish with each story, okay, what is the day-to-day like? And then what's the event that happened that throws these characters off their path, and how are they struggling to get kind of back to normal? And we came up with this idea of this sweet moment that his daughter has saved up money. And, we get the sense that maybe they don't have that much money, so it's a big deal for her. And she remembered his birthday, and she's staying up excited to give him this gift just so she could see his reaction. As far as I remember, the watch actually came from the concept art. Hyung Nam was our concept artist who did all the character designs. And there was just a drawing of a watch on Joel's wrist. And it seemed kind of interesting. And then in brainstorming his backstory, I was like, okay, what if he's carrying the watch that his daughter gave him? And that's kind of this constant reminder. And, in cinematic storytelling, you're always looking for ways to visualize feelings. So Joel doesn't have to constantly say, hey, remember Sarah, my daughter that died 20 years ago? Instead, all he's got to do is touch his watch. And as a player, you right away, that becomes a symbol for this relationship. And then to go from that to now you're seeing this other aspect of, and again, so much of this game is about parenthood, this relationship between a child and their parent and vice versa, that you go from this playfulness, this intimacy, to this protectiveness of, okay, now we got to make harder and harder decisions to protect the ones we love. And it was important to kind of encapsulate almost the entire story and who Joel is really doesn't change that much. Like the story is not about Joel changing. This is about Joel returning to who he truly is over the course of the game. So you get to see the full spectrum of who this person is in the opening, and then we kind of hit a reset for him before we come back to it.
And then very soon after this sweet moment of Sarah giving Joel his birthday gift, his watch, we see Joel in another role. And it's as the role of protector when the neighbor comes over. And Joel, without hesitation, he kills the neighbor.
Yeah, so I know the backstory is that he heard some screaming from the neighbor's house and he went over to see what's going on. And this is what I find to be great storytelling, is that you're given just enough information that you could put the pieces together yourself. So when Joel rushes back in, he already has blood on him. Something has already gone down that has freaked him out.
There you are.
And he's just concerned about the safety of his daughter.
Sarah, are you okay? Anyone come in here? Don't go near the door. Stand back there.
Then he goes in the drawer and takes out a gun. So now you just say, okay, Joel is someone that owns a gun and is not afraid to just load it up and hold it in his hand right away. Again, telling you something about him. And then when a neighbor crashes through the window, he's trying to...
Jimmy, just stay back!
He's pleading with his neighbor to stop.
I am warning you!
And only once a neighbor charges at him and really his daughter does Joel pull the trigger. And you're right, without hesitation. As soon as he feels like his daughter is threatened, he's not afraid to pull the trigger. That's who he is, and that's who he is like throughout the story.
Yeah, and then when they leave the house, they're in the car, and we see another, I think, great example of who Joel is in this moment and who he is as a father, where he makes the difficult decision to leave others behind and press on.
Who do you think you're doing? Keep driving.
I got a kid, Joel.
So do we.
But we have room.
Hey!
Keep driving,
stop!
Tommy.
Stop!
You ain't seen what I seen. Someone else will come along.
You should have helped him.
It's funny you say the hard decision, and I think about Joel, and for him, it's not a hard decision. It's a no decision. Like, I'm not going to stop to do anything that will put my daughter at risk. And if I go on a tangent real quick, I'm originally from Israel, so I follow a lot of Israeli politics. And there was this guy, Gilad Shalit, a soldier who was kidnapped and held prisoner for years by Hamas. And then there was an exchange of hundreds of prisoners for this one soldier. And some of the prisoners that were exchanged had blood on their hands, like committed horrible terrorist acts. And there was a big debate in Israel, was it right to like exchange so many people that were in prison for this one soldier to bring him back? And I remember I talked with my dad about it, and I'm like, what do you think? Do you think that was the right decision? And he says, are you asking me as like the soldier's dad or as the prime minister of Israel? Because that would make two very different decisions. As the prime minister of Israel, I think they made the wrong decision. I think they're now less safe because they made this thing. As the guy's dad, I would have traded every prisoner in every prison for this guy. And that's really what the story is about. Do the ends justify the means? And it's really so much about perspective. If it was maybe to save a strange kid versus a family, maybe Joel would have made a very different decision. But when it was like his tribe, his daughter, there was no question about what he's going to do.
Right. So you mentioned Joel's tribe. I'm curious, when does Joel let people in? When is he willing to sacrifice for them versus, just keep driving and don't look back?
Well, you always I think this is like a Robert McKee thing. I'm sure it has an older history. Robert McKee is like a famous kind of storytelling guru that someone I kind of really studied when I was learning how to write. But there's this concept of, for characters, the worst thing, what's the worst thing that could happen to them? A fate worse than death. And Joel experiences that in the very opening.
Oh, no.
Sarah.
Nothing could be worse for him. This is like the worst fate is his daughter dies in his arms. So Joel's, who he is, his decisions have led him to hell, essentially. So he tries to fight his nature and to say, okay, well, if that's what has led me here, whether it's conscious or subconscious, I'm going to do everything I can to not get attached like this, because this is the consequences of loving someone in this world.
Were you already a father when that decision was made?
I became a parent while working on The Last of Us. And this was one of the last things we did, was this sequence, the opening of the game. I don't know if I acted that differently or reacted to the material that differently after having a kid, because I just tapped so much. My parents were very protective as when I was a kid, and I could just tap into those feelings and those fears and what they did to try to protect me and my brother. That then once I had my own kid, it just felt a continuation, or maybe more intense versions of the same feelings. That's why I try when people ask me, like, what's it like being a parent? Like, you feel new stuff. I'm like, I don't know if you feel new stuff. It's just you feel a love like you've never felt before. You feel a fear like you've never felt before. It's just everything is much more intense. I could have never known such intense feelings before. And so I'm sure, like, once we were shooting that scene, it hit on a more personal level. But we were always going down that path anyways. It's interesting because on one hand, when you're trying to direct actors, at least that's the way I do it, I'm trying to be an observer as if I'm a player playing the game, and I'm trying to feel it like as if I'm seeing it for the first time. And then there's a part of the director being very critical, and it's like, okay, what are we after? Are we achieving the thing that we're after? And we're trying to get the scene, and Troy talks about this a lot.
So I knew this scene was coming from the very, very onset of the game because it was a foundational moment in the game. So I spent the next however long prepping and doing what I thought was a process for preparing for this role and this scene specifically in this moment. And I knew cognitively and academically that what you needed to do as an actor was attach yourself to a very real moment that could best be a one-to-one analog for the moment you were trying to create. And so I did. What they don't teach you, or what I had not learned rather, is that that is like sticking your mouth on the open end of a fire hydrant. And I hit the moment where I thought I was ready, walked in, and it is right there at the service. So we go through this scene, and it's bang, and instantly the levee breaks, and I lose my shit. And all of a sudden, Joel is gone. There's no Joel in that scene. There's just Troy, and there's Troy having this huge cathartic moment. And I hear, cut. I'd like to go again. And I wasn't prepared for. I went, wait, what? So we go again. And now I'm forcing that moment, and it's not anywhere. It doesn't feel genuine at all. And I start crying again, cut. I'd like to go again. And we do this 5, 6, 7 takes. And finally, Neil says, okay, I think we've got it. And we all leave. I was exhausted. Then a month later, we're shooting again, and I'm outside, and Neil goes, so hey, next shoot, we're gonna do this scene. I was like, oh, cool. And he goes, and we also need to reshoot a scene. I was like, oh, which one? And he goes, and I went, dude, don't do this to me. And now I'm mad. And so a month later, we come back and we start shooting the scene, action, and I go straight into it. And it feels weird and it feels false. And we do it 3 or 4 times. And Neil walks up to me in between takes, and I'll never forget this. And he says, I'm picking up on some resistance. And I said, yeah, you're damn right you're picking up on some resistance, because we've got it. It's in the can. It was take 1. And he said, let me tell you what I have. I have a man broken. And I was like, yeah, his fucking daughter just died. He goes, no, I have a man broken. What I don't have is what's happening. This is happening. I can fix it. It's not working. She's going. She's gone. I'm broken. And that is when I realized that Neil Druckmann was the greatest director I've ever worked with.
All right, the game now takes us forward in time. It's 20 years later, we're in Boston, a city that's in quarantine. It's summer, and we've met Tess, and now we're meeting, for kind of the first time, aside from the neighbor, we're seeing the infected. We're seeing what life is like for survivors of the outbreak. we're seeing what Joel's experience is like walking by a group of people being checked if they're infected.
Get a life.
No. I'm not infected.
Hold her
Wrong,
down.
This scan's wrong.
Do it.
Please.
Trying to escape and being gunned down.
Holy shit.
And that does not seem to faze him. And I think that sets up a big event for the player. And it's Joel and Tess coming across a human being who has been infected by the spores.
Watch it. Help me. My mask broke. Don't leave me to turn. Please.
What do you want to do?
And Joel's action is to kill that person.
It's kind of what we do at Naughty Dog is we try as much as we can to like find this marriage between interactivity and storytelling. So we came up with this concept of like, okay, as part of their smuggling route, Joel and Tess actually have these underground tunnels that they use, and they go outside of the city through
Spores.
spore-ridden areas where people that breathe in the spores could get infected. We get to see them wear a gas mask, except here they go into this path, this tunnel, and some of this debris has collapsed on another smuggler, has broken his mask, he's breathed in the spores, and he knows he's going to turn. And when you get there, he pleads with you to shoot him. He doesn't want to turn into an infected.
Don't leave me to turn.
And there's a lot of telling you of like what people's mindset is like in this world.
Please.
And then we have the training comes up and it tells you which buttons to push to aim your gun and pull the trigger.
What do you want to do?
And 9 out of 10 players do that. But we also had to account for players that don't do that just are fighting who Joel is at this moment.
What do you want to do?
So then we had Tess do it. So actually, if you don't kill the guy, Tess will do it for you. So either we establish that Joel does it or Tess does it, but they're both okay with just shooting someone and then moving on. This is just...
Well, this is where I say something about my character. I had no idea Tess would do it. I have played this game so many times.
Well, it's funny. We always have to account for like, okay, in gameplay, we want you to do this thing. What happens if you don't? So here's an opportunity to really put you into Joel's perspective. And so much of what we do with The Last of Us versus other games that, there's a lot of games that let you craft the morality of your character. You might have like a morality bar even to say, am I going to be good or evil? This is not that kind of game. We're saying Joel is a very specific character that takes very specific actions, and we're trying early on in the game to align you with him. So you're buying into what he's doing. You understand what he's doing. So that later, when he starts deviating maybe from your morality, you're on board already. So you're like, well, I wouldn't act this way, but I know Joel would. So I'm role playing as Joel. That's why I'm on board for these actions.
And then we meet Marlene in this moment, and we're meeting the Fireflies for the first time.
Look, let's go find a firefly.
You won't have to look very far.
There you go. Queen Firefly.
In The Last of Us, we really tried not to have heroes and villains. To show everything is about perspective, and they operate within these quarantine zones and try to quote unquote liberate them. So from their perspective, they're freedom fighters. From the military perspective, they're terrorists. From Joel and Tess's perspective, they're just an opportunity. They don't align themselves with either side. They got their own side. And in chasing Robert, like Robert stole a shipment of weapons that Joel and Tess use as a bartering tool to survive in this world. And now Robert has given it to the Fireflies. So the Fireflies are, at this point for Joel and Tess, are just a means to an end.
You're looking so hot.
Where's Robert? I needed him alive.
The guns he gave you, they weren't his to sell. I want them back.
Doesn't work like that, Tess.
The hell it doesn't.
I paid for those guns. You want them back? You're gonna have to earn them.
And they see them, especially we see it more from Joel's perspective, he doesn't care for them. He doesn't care for this kind of idealistic view of life. He doesn't think it's going to lead to anything useful. It's all about survival. So we run into Marlene that has some knowledge of these black market smugglers with Joel and Tess. And she sees that they've killed Robert, who she was dealing with, and she needs to smuggle something out of this city.
You do that, I'll give you your guns back, and then some.
How do we know you got him?
I gotta move. What's it gonna be?
I want to see those guns.
Follow me.
And I think if Joel knew what the cargo was, he wouldn't have taken this on.
We're smuggling her?
You know, she's 14 years old when we first meet her, and we instantly see how scrappy she is because in that first meeting, she goes after Joel for touching Marlene and tells him to get the fuck away from her. Get the fuck away from her.
Let her go.
And she's ready to fight if necessary. And that's the first meeting we have of her. And that's a bold start.
There's a crew of Fireflies that'll meet you at the Capitol building. You hand her off, come back, the weapons are yours. Double what Robert sold me.
Speaking of which, where are they?
Back in our camp.
We're not smuggling shit until I see them.
You'll follow me. You can verify the weapons. I can get patched up. But she's not crossing to that part of town. I want Joel to watch over her.
Whoa, I don't think that's the best
Ellie.
idea.
Him?
Look, just take her to the North Tunnel and wait for me there.
Jesus Christ.
Just cargo, Joel.
Don't take long. And you, stay close. Let's go.
I feel like the line is blurred between me and Ellie at this point because I feel like I am Ellie to a certain degree and she's me. And it's, I don't know. I'm obviously very possessive of this character as well.
Well, I think a lot of us are. I think players were able to relate to her because of the beautiful work you did in terms of creating this very real person. She's not a young ingenue. She's not a grizzled, hardened, tough gal, tank girl style character. She's very real and lived in, and I think it really draws people to her.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important, especially with female characters, to show all sides because that's what makes us special. Showing the vulnerability, showing moments when you're scared, showing the moments when you're strong. And you need that contrast because that's what makes what I think an interesting character.
Ellie's such an interesting person, or it was an interesting window into the story in that Joel straddles both worlds, right? He's lived in the world that we know, so he's almost like a way for the player, is the player's mindset, because the player knows the world we know, and then they get transported into this other reality, much like Joel did. But Ellie, on the other hand, doesn't know anything but the post-pandemic world, this post-apocalyptic world. In fact, she doesn't know anything except for this oppressive quarantine zone. So she's a tool for us to still find the innocence in this world, to find wonder in things that we take for granted. And then the whole concept of The Last of Us was a long journey where you're going to have these two characters of Ellie and Joel, where at first they don't like each other, let alone trust each other or anything else. They don't like each other. And by the end of it, they're going to love each other like the way a parent loves a child or a child loves their parent, and they're willing to do anything for each other.
I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about Ellie's. Joel becomes a surrogate father to her. Marlene was maybe a surrogate mother to her in some form or fashion before. I would love your thoughts on kind of what is a family to Ellie and what she looks for in a mother or father and what those roles are or could be.
Boy, because I'm sure in this world she sees other kids with parents. And I think is a relationship that a lot of us, even if we have it or if we don't have it, we're looking for that because you want guidance, especially at that age. And I mean, with Marlene, their relationship in particular is a complicated one. But they care about each other deeply. And I do believe that Marlene, in many ways, was a parental figure for Ellie. And I think when she meets Joel, I feel like it's parental from the get-go. But if you went on that journey with anyone, there's no way you would not have a connection with them. I mean, as you kind of see her life in Left Behind, you see that life is hard, but she's resilient, she's tough, she's funny, it's all she knows. There's a new kind of isolation that she starts to carry with her because of the weight of being immune. And it's why she doesn't tell anybody. And she's different. And when you're a kid and you're different, you want to hide that because you stop being relatable. And especially something like an immunity to this thing that no one else seems to have, that's incredibly isolating. And there's a lot of weight to carry with that. And I mean, that's why at the end, why she says it can't be for nothing.
So we find out Ellie is infected. At this point, Joel is not on board. Ellie is definitely not his surrogate daughter. She's cargo. And now she's infected. She's a liability. And so I'm curious, Troy, if you could talk about portraying this moment and what it meant to Joel and how it set him up for the rest of his adventure.
I think that from the very, very moment Joel sees Ellie, and I don't know if this is, I've never thought about whether that was the first time for him to have that kind of close interactivity with a daughter that was Sarah's age. But it's such a visceral, there's no ambivalence about it, right? It is a clear, absolutely not. So from the very onset, he's connected to her. And it's even if it's there's a repulsion that happens as a pure defense mechanism for Joel. And that moment when they come out of the sewer and the soldiers kind of get them down and they do their ear test.
Don't do anything stupid.
Move.
Turn around, on your knees. You scan him, I'll call it in.
Oh, fuck. I thought we were just gonna hold him up or something.
Oh, shit. Look.
Jesus Christ. Marlene set us up? Why the hell are we smuggling an infected girl?
I'm not infected.
No? Was just lying?
I can explain.
You better explain fast.
Look at this.
I don't care how you got infected.
It's 3 weeks old.
No, everyone turns within 2 days, so you stop bullshitting.
It's 3 weeks. I swear. Why would she set you up?
I ain't buying it.
More backpedaling. It's like now there's no version of this that ends positively. She is going to die, and she's going to die quickly. She's going to die right now. And then it's the confusion of, like, she should have already turned.
To what extent was that Joel's only truth? That Ellie was the one? She was Neo. I need to get her to this place because she is the one.
Man, what a great question. I feel like the notion that you're positing is one of essentially it asks the question, does Joel have hope? And to believe in a Messiah, a savior, the one, which we can get into that. Neo was not the one, but that's a whole separate podcast that I would love to have with you.
Is anyone listening? We're spinning up a second show.
Yes.
I'm on board.
I don't think Joel deals in those terms. He doesn't deal in terms of hope and even humanity. He deals in the currency of survival and need. So now we've let this girl in and she's going to be a threat. And either I have to A, put her down, which I don't want to go through that again, or B, she's going to hurt us and that I don't want to deal with. So it's not like, oh my gosh, now there's this possibility of this whole other world, and maybe we can pull out of this. I think Joel is waiting to die, but there's some stoic in him that says, while death is preferred, it's the flip of it. I will live. But no, I don't think he deals in terms of hope, much less redemption.
My name is Anthony Newman, and I was the melee combat designer on The Last of Us Part 1.
The game puts the player in a positions of extreme brutality, and I would say some of that is definitely from that melee combat, that up close, you see the pipe hitting the person, killing people up close and personal, killing humans, infected, the whole gamut. It's also so beautiful, whether it's Ellie seeing real fireflies for the first time, giraffes, nature reclaiming this world. I'd love to get your take on kind of balancing that brutality alongside beauty, the world that Joel and Ellie inhabit.
So at the studio, we're huge fans of Robert McKee and his works on like talking about story and narrative and stuff. And one of his points that I always loved was that what makes for really interesting characters is dimension. And essentially when he's talking about dimension, he's talking about contradiction. So, one that comes to mind is, Han Solo from Star Wars. On the one hand, he's selfish and in it for himself. On the other hand, when push comes to shove and like Luke is in trouble, he's out there rescuing him and stuff. So it's this internal contradiction between his selfishness and his selflessness that makes him kind of charming and interesting as a character. And I think that kind of thinking was underlying a lot of the decision making to make the world both brutal. So if everything was just super, super dour and a bummer, that's kind of not as rich of an experience. And, the fact that the game has both, a clicker ripping your throat out and Ellie telling you a joke from a joke book.
It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
I think that makes for just a really rich and multifaceted experience. So I'm glad they approached the game with that in mind. So one thing that was pretty interesting about this is initially there were only clickers. Initially, the only type of infected in the game were the fully mushroomed out clicker enemies. And in the original pitch for The Last of Us 1, infected were meant to be this kind of background radiation against a story that was really about human conflict. As things kind of developed, though, and we like took a closer look at the story and the kind of scenarios that you were meant to be in, we realized there are actually quite a few infected encounters, and it's getting pretty boring to fight the same enemy over and over again. So it was actually remarkably late in production. I would say maybe 10 months before we shipped the game or something, 11 months, that Bruce split the infected into 4 classes.
Quick side note, Bruce Straley co-developed and directed the game with Neil.
So kind of in ascending order, there were runners, stalkers, clickers, and bloaters. So it's like kind of the power scaling of those enemies. There's some kind of interesting differences between all of them. To make the runners feel on the weak side, they had the same aspect that Ellie has in her melee, where when the runners hit you, they don't actually interrupt you. They kind of they make you flinch a little bit, but you can still keep punching. So if you're punching one and another one is hitting you, they just kind of they deal damage, but you can keep punching the one that you're damaging. And then there's a step up to stalkers.
Oh, fuck. Stalkers.
Stalkers were another thing that came on remarkably late. Their ambushing, their hiding and peeking around corners thing, that was something that had been pretty well developed. But their actual melee was something I remember this specific conversation with Bruce where I forget exactly why, but they had no melee of their own. They just used the same runner abilities, and they're only in 2 encounters in the whole game, so they kind of were in this chopping block space of like almost not existing. And I remember it seriously had to be like 2 months or less before we shipped the game, and Bruce was like, we need these guys, we need melee, we need them to be unique in some way. The main aspect of stalkers that differentiates them from runners, other than the fact that they hide, is that they just have 1 step stronger of melee abilities where when they hit you, they do interrupt you. So if you get comboed down by a stalker, they can chain attacks on you, and you're kind of helpless while they're chaining those attacks on you. It's kind of this like, okay, just 1 notch above where the runners were at. And then the clicker is obviously kind of a big jump above that, even, where not only when they touch you do they interrupt you, they interrupt your life. They like just kill you instantly by kind of taking you down all at once. And then the
Goddamn bloater!
Well, what?
bloater is kind of like, it does everything a clicker does and more, and has way more health and is way tankier. And it's the only infected with a ranged attack. So that was the kind of the thing that stepped it up even further, was the corrosive clouds that it threw at you.
Ellie, just stay away from it.
So at this point in the game, it's Ellie, Joel, and Tess, and they've made their way through the city to the Capitol building.
No.
And they find out that the group of fireflies they were looking for, they're all dead.
What happens now? Maybe they had a map or something to tell us where they were going.
How far are we gonna take
As far as it needs to go. Where was this lab of theirs?
Oh, she never said. She only mentioned that it was someplace out west.
What are we doing here? This is not us.
What do you know about us? About me?
I know that you are smarter than this.
Really? Guess what? We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess! Let's just go home.
I'm not going anywhere. This is my last stop.
What?
Our luck had to run out sooner or later.
You going on?
No, don't touch me.
Holy shit. She's infected.
Joel.
Let me see. Oh, Christ.
Give me your arm. This was 3 weeks. I was bitten an hour ago, and it's already worse. This is fucking real, Joel. You've got to get this girl to Tommy's. He used to run with this crew. He'll know where to go.
No. That was your crusade. I am not doing that.
Yes, you are. Look, there's enough here that you have to feel some sort of obligation to me, so you get her to Tommy's. They're here.
Damn it.
I can buy you some time, but you have to run.
You want us to just leave you here?
Yes.
There is no way that...
I will not turn into one of those things. Come on. Make this easy for me.
I can find...
No, just go! Just fucking go.
Ellie,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this.
get a move on.
We talked about Sarah and Joel as a father, and now we're seeing Joel as a partner with Tess. And then Tess dies in a very heroic moment. She chooses to stay behind and keep fighting as Joel and Ellie press on. And it's been 20 years for Joel since the last major death potentially in his life, but it's been 30, 45 minutes, an hour and a half for the player to now experience this other great loss for this character they're role-playing on. Why did Tess have to die? What does Tess's death mean in that moment?
So Tessa's role in the story is we needed to put Joel in a place where he would never take on this mission. There's no, like, if Joel was alone and Marlene came up to him and says, you need to take this 14-year-old girl and travel across the country with her, he'd be like, go fuck yourself. There's no way in hell I'm taking this on. But instead, what we did is, like, we partnered Joel with Tess and said, Joel's not even the leader. Like, Tess is the leader. Joel is the muscle. They both on the surface appear like survivors. They're willing to do whatever they need to survive and have accepted their reality. But then we get to see, once Tess is with this kid, that there's something about, there's an opportunity for redemption here, that she actually recognizes that they're not good people. So then one of the things once they find out that Ellie is immune to the effects of the cordyceps fungus, at first they are reluctant to buy into it, but then Tess tells Joel, like, what if it's true? What if, like, delivering this girl is, like, the one good thing that we could do?
Really? Guess what? We're shitty people, Joel. It's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess. Now, we tried. Let's just go home.
I'm not going anywhere.
And he's trying to convince her out of this. It's like, it's not worth it. It's like, it's not going to happen. But she just calls the shots and we move forward to get to a point where gets bitten and she hides it at first. And then she gets to a point where she realizes, like, this is the end of the line. The only thing she could do to move this journey forward is to sacrifice herself before she turns into an infected and buy Joel time to take Ellie and escape from the military that has been chasing them. And the reason that is constructed in such a way so that she could have a dying wish. She could say, I'm going to be gone. I know you don't want to do this, but you need to do this. You need to go further. Like, we thought we were just taking them outside the city and the people were delivering them are already dead. But your brother would know where, like, the Fireflies are. He used to be part of them. Please, as my dying wish, if you ever felt anything from me, you will do this. And again, it's buying us more time for Joel and the player to get invested in Ellie. So that is the whole reason Tess is in the story, is to get to this point. And now Joel feels like, okay, well, I made this promise to someone I loved and had just sacrificed herself. I'll go just a little bit further. And in his mind, he's like, I'm just getting her to my brother and I'm done. And that's it. And I don't have to connect with her. I'm going to keep my distance. And of course, things don't go as Joel plans at any point throughout the story. But that is why Tess dies the way she dies, and she makes this dying wish for Joel.
Which is to transport this girl he sees as cargo.
I mean, if you go backwards a little bit, there's a moment where Joel and Ellie have to wait for Tess. Tess is going to go off with Marlene, and Joel has to just watch over Ellie for a few hours in this kind of hideout that Joel and Tess have. And Joel lies down to sleep, and Ellie comments on Joel's watch, and he just kind of blows her off.
Your watch is broken.
And then we see this moment where it's kind of this recurring theme where Joel wakes up from nightmares.
You mumble in your sleep.
And Ellie asks him about his dreams.
I hate bad dreams.
And then she starts telling him, like, they have this window where she could look outside and she sees the end of the quarantine zone. And she's like, I've never been this close to the outside. And he starts to see her as more than just cargo.
You know, I've never been this close to the outside. Look how dark it is. Can't be any worse out there.
And then after this moment where she shows this moment of innocence, he asks her,
What on earth do the Fireflies want with you?
And we see that he didn't let that go. He's starting to care. So we kind of drop these hints. We foreshadow that despite everything he's saying consciously, on a subconscious level, there's something else happening. And then we see it after Tess dies and he escapes with Ellie from these infected tunnels, and they're alone for the first time and they can regroup. And Ellie's trying to apologize about what happened to Tess.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this.
Get a move on.
He shuts her down. He's like, okay, here are the rules. Like, you're just going to follow me. We're not going to talk about the past. We're not going to connect in any way. Like, he's trying to find ways to protect himself. And of course, Ellie is her own person. And even though she's says, sure, in this moment, I'm agreeing to your rules, none of it is going to go the way Joel wants it to go.
what do you think of Joel's choices so far?
I think the reason why Joel does this, it's out of obligation. And there's a level of pragmatism to Joel that says, what else are we going to do? The only option that I have, Tess, I think he knows Tess well enough to know is like, there's no talking her out of this. We are doing this. This is happening. And his experience and relationship with Tess is what allows him to do that. But I also think that there is some shred of him that says, I can't abandon. She may be a monster, but for right now, she's a little girl, and I can't abandon a little girl.
So things have changed quite a bit from how Ellie's day started. And I'm curious, Ashley, what you think of Ellie's choices of going off into this unknown with this person, with Joel, right? Who only a few hours ago was a complete stranger to her.
Well, I feel like if she trusts Marlene, and she does, she knows that this person, Marlene trusts this person. And so all she can do in this moment she's trying to figure out what this all means. And if this person can help her with that, then she's going to go on the journey with this person. But I don't think she was prepared to care for this man as much as she does. And I think I love how Ellie is written. I think all of the choices she makes are so bold and brave. And I mean, I've said this before, I still feel so proud that I was able to play this character. But I think their relationship is so interesting and different. And yeah, I mean, I love the choices she makes. I think they're perfect for her.
You mentioned Ellie looking out the window outside the quarantine zone, and we have this nice moment where Ellie gets outside of it and she sees fireflies, the actual insect.
I mean, real fireflies.
Yeah, I see that.
Sorry, I lost myself for a sec.
And we have this moment of story being conveyed through dialogue that isn't a cutscene, that the player, I believe, has to hear, but could kind of be doing something else in that moment.
Yeah, that's what makes our medium unique, is that you get to experience things yourself. So when we have, let's say, Joel and Ellie walk through a forest in the game for the first time, and you look at the artwork that Naughty Dog artists have done, and it's just beautiful. We can write dialogue that actually reflects Ellie seeing a forest for the first time. And she talks about, I've never been through the woods. I've only lived in a concrete quarantine zone. So you, as a player, you get to you appreciate the graphics of the game, and then you get to hear this girl comment about it, and you're like, oh right, that is kind of pretty, and then she'll constantly comment about seeing a bird for the fly for the first time, or seeing fireflies, and she's like, look, actual fireflies, something she probably only read about or seen in a picture of in some falling apart National Geographic magazine that maybe she got to look at. Joel is probably someone that has lost all appreciation for beauty and art and the good things this world has to offer. Everything for him is just about surviving another day. So in a way, as cliche as it sounds, it's he's dead. Joel has died along with his daughter, and Ellie is now slowly bringing him back to life.
Troy, you mentioned Joel isn't a hope dealer. He's not one who deals in hope.
Right.
So if it's not hope, what is Joel fighting for?
Calling back to that moment, when that argument between Tess and Joel, and Tess is the one who says we are shitty people. It's been that way for a long time. And this is who we are. We do the dirty work. And Joel has convinced himself, no, we are survivors. This is what we do. I am sure that there's been multiple moments where Joel has loaded that gun with the pure intention of ending it all. I think that there is a silent contract that he has with Sarah that he would not allow himself to do that. I believe that he feels that there's no absolution in that. That's not the solution to the problem. So what is the solution? The solution is that I survive.
What do you think Ellie is fighting for?
I think she's fighting for meaning, of course. You know, like I said, I think having this thing happen to her, and with the loss that she's already experienced at this point, with losing her mother, losing Riley, you know, and like all of us, it's still trying to find the meaning in that. And also, you know, with spending time with the Fireflies of like, hey, maybe we can do something great. Maybe we can turn this around. And maybe I could be the key to that thing. I think she's really, truly just trying to find out why this thing happened to her and why she's the way that she is. And if she is, then maybe she can help other people.
And Neil, what would you say the characters are fighting for?
Joel is definitely fighting to protect himself, and the way to do that is to protect Ellie. Ellie, it's interesting. It's I don't know why my mind is like, I don't want to spoil where the story's going, but I guess this is the whole point of this conversation. Ellie is trying to justify everyone else's sacrifice. That's what she's trying to do throughout this whole story. She needs, we'll find out, like her best friend Riley died trying to save her. Tess now died trying to save her. We're about to meet other characters that aren't going to have good fates along the way. So she's trying to justify all these horrible things that's happening around her and the horrible things that she's going to do in finding this cure. That's why it means so much to her. Otherwise, she believes those deaths are on her. And why does she get to survive while people she cared for have died?
Next week on the official The Last of Us podcast.
I got you.
Damn it, Bill. Kid, I swear to God, if you took anything.
Hey man, I don't need any of your shit. Trust me.
It's like Joel believes like you don't get attached to anyone, you live by yourself, and that's how you survive. And we get to see, okay, well, this is what that looks like.
Why are these all stuck together?
I think those moments are so important in the game because it is heavy. And we need to have those moments to just sort of all have sort of a collective sigh of relief, to have a break for a moment.
The Last of Us podcast is produced by PlayStation and Spoke Media. It's hosted by me, Christian Spicer, and written by Brigham Mosley. Our Sony PlayStation team includes Charlie Yater, Christian Cardona, and Carrie Surtees. Our Naughty Dog team includes Arnie Meyer and Scott Lowe. Our production team is Carson McCain, Kelly Kolf, Trey Jones, Reyes Mendoza, and Alicia Force. This episode was mixed by Evan Arnett, who contributed additional sound design and music. Today's episode included interviews with Neil Druckmann, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and Anthony Newman. Executive producers are Aliyah Tavakolian and Keith Reynolds.
Have a good night.
How is it that you're never scared?
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body? Scared of that happening to me.
Okay. First of all, we're a team now. Okay, we're gonna help each other out. And second, They might still look like people, but that person is not in there anymore.
Henry says that they've moved on, that they're with their families, like in heaven. Do you think that's true?
I go back and forth. I mean, I'd like to believe it.
But you don't.
I guess not.
Yeah. Me neither.
This is the official The Last of Us podcast, and I'm your host, Christian Spicer. As we all await the release of Part 2, I'm revisiting The Last of Us Part 1 and talking with the visionaries and talents who made it. We'll be recapping the story while diving deep into the making of. If you haven't listened to episode 1 yet, do that now, because we're walking through this story chronologically. And that means in today's episode, we'll be working our way through the rest of summer. And I'll be talking again with Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, aka Joel and Ellie. And I'll also be talking with art director Eric Pangilinan and, of course, writer and creative director Neil Druckmann. Now, last we left off, Joel vowed to transport Ellie to the Fireflies after leaving behind his recently infected partner, Tess. He and Ellie make their way out of Boston and into...
Jesus!
Whoa, man. What the hell was that?
That would be one of Bill's traps.
Your friend a bit paranoid, maybe?
That's putting it lightly.
What's the deal with this guy?
Well, he helped us smuggle stuff into the cities. He knows how to find things.
Well, let's hope we don't blow up trying to find him.
Ellie, come on, just...
Oh, shit! God.
I got you.
Damn it, Bill!
What just happened?
Another one of Bill's stupid traps.
Cut that rope, and it'll bring me down.
On it!
Shit, here they come.
Just hang to the rope. Ellie, how's it looking?
I'm going as fast as I
can. Get off your ass on your...
We're meeting Bill, which as a player, I expect Bill to die. I expect to like Bill. I expect Bill to die. And I expect Joel and Ellie to be worse off because of it. Who is Bill to Joel? And then in that moment, who is Bill to Ellie coming into this from a new perspective?
You know, when we work on the story, we write everything on index cards and we outline it on this big cork board. And every section has a purpose. So one of the things we wanted to explore in this story is like, how are people surviving? The people that are kind of situated in a place, what do they do to survive? We've seen so far the military, which is surviving by these very kind of oppressive means. It means people don't have freedom of movement. They might not have as much food as they want to, but they're mostly protected from the infected. That's one version. And then we want to say, okay, what if someone could survive by themselves? So it does two things. One is it sets up, okay, here's another way to survive in this world. And what are the pros and cons of that? But the other thing is it reflects, it's almost like Bill's he's taken Joel's philosophy, or what Joel believes his philosophy is, to the nth degree. It's like Joel believes like you don't get attached to anyone.
That sort of shit's good for one thing, getting you killed.
You live by yourself, and that's how you survive.
And I realize it's got to be just me.
And we get to see, okay, well, this is what that looks like.
Bill, it ain't like that. It's
bullshit. It is just like that.
I definitely see almost every character that Joel meets throughout this, especially those that you meet, is you have to go through the thought experiment of, there before the grace of God go I. Like, you look at Bill and it's like, I could have gone crazy. I could have isolated myself and found a little, shitheel town that I could have just put up this barrier, and all that I have to worry about is protecting myself? Why did Joel choose to be a smuggler in a quarantine zone? Why did he choose to partner with Tess and do this? Why didn't he just isolate? But I definitely do look at that relationship with Bill, which is primarily we know that Bill and Tess are kind of like that. That's the relationship, right? Joel is always kind of on the outside of that. He's the plus one. So that's why it's kind of a tenuous relationship when you see Bill. It's like, hey, friend, when they first meet, and the relationship between the two of them is contentious. It's like, you and I have commerce together, but we're not friends. It's almost like Bill is Joel's weed dealer. It's like, hey, we're cool, but this is the limit of our relationship. And to me, it was always a very interesting choice that Neil made in the script to. When Bill brings up Tess.
How in the hell is Tess okay with this suicide mission?
It's actually her idea.
Really?
Yeah, this is right after Tess has died, and there's not that. Tess is dead, and I've thought about that moment a lot. And did Joel not tell Bill that because it's like, then you and I have nothing to do with each other? Because the only reason why Joel is in front of Bill is because he needs something. He needs a car.
Bill's like trying to say, like, why are you with this kid? Like, don't you like? And he kind of lays it out. Almost the themes of the game is like, don't you know what happens when you like rely on someone and like you're going to get yourself killed? And Joel's like, it wasn't me, it was Tess. It's like,
well, the broad's not as smart as I thought she was.
And then Bill starts insulting Tess. No, just when Joel kind of stops him.
Bill, face.
Can we please just get on with it?
And then we wanted to show how Bill
ain't exactly the most stable of individuals.
Again, he just rambles to himself.
All the supplies from the warehouse are plugged into the yeast
now he's
vents
talking to himself.
again.
When you don't have another person to communicate with, you start going a little crazy and your mind splits. Just so you could communicate with anyone, you start communicating with yourself. And we wanted to show that as you're walking around town, to say, okay, this is probably what this guy does when no one's around.
Can't believe you agreed to this bullshit. This shit's gonna
Bill?
Joel, this way.
He just is living this very kind of lonely, sad existence. And then so much of his character came from the actor that played him, W. Earl Brown, who was just phenomenal. I mean, I'm going to say that about every one of our cast members. But he really kind of brought this, there's just like this anger and this resentment and again, this really kind of pushing away people that really felt honest the way it came out of Earl's performance.
What, you know this guy or something?
Frank.
Who the hell's Frank?
He was my partner.
I think the idea of Bill having a partner, we're always trying to subvert expectation. Like, you think it's going to go this way, and if it went exactly how you predicted, it's going to get boring. So you think you're meeting Bill because Joel needs a car because he wants to get to his brother as quickly as possible to get rid of Ellie. And then we're going to subvert things by having a horde of infected in the school, and it's not going to go at all how these characters predict it's going to go. But another way to subvert expectations is to say, okay, Bill is this loner who pushes everybody away, and then find out he really cared about this person. And at first, I think we conceived of it as just like a surviving partner, his best friend. And as I was writing those scenes, it just, I don't know, sometimes things just come out of you, and it felt more interesting to say, okay, this partner is his lover as well. When we shoot these scenes, we first do a table read where we kind of get the actors to say the words for the first time, maybe improvise some changes, but really make them part of the storytelling process.
Every chance I get the opportunity to talk about specifically the character of Bill, I love bringing up the fact that W. Earl Brown, what he brought to that character specifically was he infused that character with the soul. Neil and Bruce did such a great job of giving it framework, and especially Neil writing the character. But one of the first moments that I remember seeing Neil's MO, which would be, I'm going to present you with something and I'm going to give you the opportunity to make it better or to flesh it out, was sitting at the table read for this one scene. And the scene is when we discover that Bill has a partner. And that was the specific word that was used. Just use the word partner. And Earl asked Neil, he goes, when you say partner, what are you stating? And Neil says, and his famous phrase now, what do you think? And Earl made the choice. He's like, if it's all right with you, I think it's interesting that in this world, this man found partnership, he found connection, and he found love in this person. And that's what it was. But that was a choice that Earl made purely as an actor, that Neil facilitated and supported that decision.
At the time, I didn't think about what representation could mean to other people in this instance. I don't know why I didn't think about, and maybe I should have. But since the game has come out and there was like just a nuanced gay relationship that people connected with and identified with, and they come and have expressed to me how much it meant to them to see it represented so honestly, or represented as well as we did it. It just kind of reinforced that feeling of seeing yourself in something you love, or seeing yourself in a movie, in a game, in a book. It's such a unique feeling that I can relate to on other levels. That it's just something that has become part of our process now to make sure that we're inclusive to tell better stories. It leads to better stories, and it leads to more people being able to connect to different layers of your stories than just kind of telling the same stories with the same kind of characters and the same kind of relationships.
Hey, look at that.
Let me use that. I'm a pretty good shot with that thing.
How about we just leave this kind of stuff to me?
Well, we could both be armed. Cover each other.
I don't think so. So we got shotguns and bombs. What the hell are we doing with them?
Well, every few weeks this military caravan rides through town. I assume they're out looking for supplies. I mean, you'd be amazed at the shit that they overlook. Anyway, a few months back, they were rolling through and they get overrun by this horde of infected. They were all over the truck. It plows right in the side of the high school. Still sitting there with a battery in it.
So we take that battery and we put it in another car.
Bingo! I wanted to get it, but it seemed too dangerous with all the infected on that part of town. But fuck it.
Actually might work. Ellie, come on.
Look, there's a school.
All right.
Ready?
Guess we'll find out.
My name is Eric Pangilinan, and I'm the art director in Last of Us 1.
I'd love to start broadly for people who may not know. And for me, what is your role as art director?
So it's almost like a mix between a producer and an art director and an art manager, where I manage the entire project from start to finish, dealing with the creative director, the concept art, the animation, the camera guys, and the environment team. So I take care of the game from start to finish.
So how does the art and the art direction contribute to that feeling of like loneliness and just isolation in this world that has moved on from where we started, 20 years prior?
I think one of the goals we tried to do in the art was to contrast that, because the feeling and the situations we put the players in is very grim, very sad, very violent. And we want to contrast that with the environment being beautiful, open, bright.
How do you balance the beauty of nature with the destruction of what it represents? That here's this beautiful flower, per se, but it's not where a flower should be if society was as it was, 20 years prior. How do you balance that?
I think for us, we searched the internet, we look for references, and like in most images we saw, it was just overwhelming. It was just nature will take back everything. And for us, for the art director, it's more about balancing that so that it's visually appealing. We use that to our advantage in separating the values and separating what is nature and what is the environment, so that it creates a good balance aesthetically to the world. It gives us opportunities to create natural formations with what was once man-made, like using bridges as pathways for water to go by. So you have all of these waterfalls cascading on top of each other. But instead of rocks, you have like the pancaked freeway. So it creates like this nice cascade down an environment. But when you look at it closely, you'll see like, hey, that's not rocks. That's not these terracing. It's actually a destroyed structure like the freeway that collapsed on top of each other and formed this nice waterfall.
One of the moments I'd really like to talk about, it's arguably the first, and I think certainly one of the few, it's the boss fight in the game, right? Like if boss fights even exist in the game, it's not like a health bar shows up and boss fight, comes on screen, but it's the encounter with the bloater. It's such an important moment in the game. And I'd love to hear how that moment and the gym were created.
What the fuck is that?
Goddamn bloater!
What?
Ellie, take cover.
I guess the bloater is an interesting part in the game, but I think I remember us being very against like making this feel like a game. We want you to be immersed in it as if you're in the world. So UI was a very careful balance in how much UI we're going to give the player so that it doesn't put them in like, oh, now you're in a combat space. Oh, now you're fighting this boss or something. So we were very careful not to take you out of that experience. And one of the things that we do in the environment, especially like man-made environments like the school, was to go very deep with the identity of the space. So we try to treat every space architecturally correct, and we try to study the interior designs of each of these structures so that we are designing it as if it's a real school, and then applying this environmental storytelling of like what happened to that place. Like, did it collapse? Did it get flooded? How did the dirt manage to get to this area, and what did it do to the materials like the floor, to the roof? How do you apply the infected into this area? Like, how do you show the pattern of the growth coming from a source? So the bloater is really like the pinnacle of the most dangerous part of the infection. And I think that's why this thing was treated like it was the boss, and it was presented in a way where you can see its maximum strength, like in this gym, and you were able to fight this with all your most powerful weapons.
And at least for me, I feel like it also represented, because it felt like a real space, almost a micro version of a hero's journey coming complete, where it's the realization of, for so many people, projecting my own feelings, but the school bully and that bullying happening in gym, right? Like, be it the tough gym teacher and she's yelling at you, or the kid who pushes you into the locker. And here's Joel, this man's man, survived everything so far, taking on the bully in the school gym.
Yeah, I've never seen it that way, but yeah, that does make sense. And I guess that's why it's like the boss fight, right? Like you have to up that thing with the danger of the situation with something bigger. And I think for us, that was the solution. And it's something that, if you were stuck with in an enclosed space, you'd be totally screwed. And so like getting introduced to the bloater in this big gym is actually great, because it gets you prepared for the other situations, which would be a lot hairier than this.
Ellie, just stay away from it.
They destroy the bloater and make their way out of the high school. And they find Frank's body.
They see Frank's body when they're in the middle of a yelling match.
Bill, somebody had the same idea. They stole my shit.
Well, then what the hell is plan B?
You ought to be thankful you're still drawing breath. That was plan A, B, C, all the way to fucking Z. And furthermore, tell Tess that she could take this job.
Don't you bring Tess into this.
Shove it right up
nothing to do with...
And then they find this body.
Jesus. What, you know this guy or something?
Frank.
Who the hell's Frank?
He was my partner. He's the only idiot that would wear a shirt like that. He's got bites.
And then Bill revealed that Frank was his partner, and we see Joel, there's a moment of empathy. And Joel pauses, and he's like...
Reckon he didn't want to turn. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess not.
He doesn't know what to say. Like, that was one of my favorite descriptors of Joel when we sent out the casting description, is he's inarticulate. He doesn't quite know how to express him because he's buried his feelings so much. And he's just not like a well-learned person. He doesn't quite know how to express his feeling, his thoughts. And he just kind of rambles in that moment, like, that's a rough deal.
That's a tough deal.
And that's the best he could do to comfort someone he cares about. But we see this moment of like, he gets it. He gets that sadness. He gets that loss. And as much as he wants to bury those emotions, they bubble to the top.
When we get to that scene and he says, you know, he's so clinical about it. He's like, yeah, it looks like you got bit here, here, and here. And he has this one moment of contemplative grief. And then it's back to Bill. He's like, you get rid of that girl as soon as you can. You know, this is the last time I'm ever going to see you because you're going to be a dead man.
We square.
We're square.
And get the fuck out of my town.
That's it. But it's a reminder, if nothing else, I think for Joel, Bill, that whole arc serves as a quasi-Faustian, this neo Jiminy Cricket going, remember, you get attached and it'll fuck you. Don't care about people. Remember, don't care about people. This is about getting this one thing and getting to the other side. Don't get emotional about this, Joel. That's what I think the purpose of Bill serves to Joel. It's a reminder of the atrocities of this world that we're in.
Oh, man.
Hey, what happened to sleeping?
Okay, I know it doesn't look like it, but this here is not a bad read. Only one problem. Right there. To be continued. I hate cliffhangers.
Where did you get that?
Back at Bill's. I mean, all this stuff was just lying there.
That scene, I think, was the first scene we ever wrote for that game. And it was used to cast Ellie and Joel. And it was just because we knew like there's so much like violence and intensity and drama in the story that we need to balance it with lighthearted moments. And that's why it was so important to get the kind of levity that's in the scene and the kind of chemistry that these characters needed to have in this scene. So in that instance, it was like, well, what would Ellie steal from Bill? And she steals all sorts of stuff. But I remember the comic book was just the first inkling we had that, Ellie would be into comics and there would be such a rarity in the world that she would get excited every time she found a comic. And then that later turned into its own mechanic that as Joel, as you're exploring, you could find these comics that then you gift Ellie. And it was another way systemically to build in their relationship.
And Neil, you've created real comics. You wrote real Last of Us comics. So did American Dreams already exist at this point? Were you teasing it? Or is it something that came to you later?
Yeah, no, when this scene was written, there was no thinking that, there'll be an opportunity here to make a comic book with Faith Erin Hicks, someone I admire. I just love comics, and I've loved comics almost my entire life. That's where like I'm trying to think what a teenager would be into, that I just immediately gravitated towards that, which is comics. Again, I grew up in Israel when I was young, and at the time when I lived there were no comic book stores. So like one day my dad came back from the US and brought my older brother a Batman comic. And I was like 7 or 8, and I was just blown away by it. It just left such an impression on me. And then it was all about how do we get more of these things? And when we finally moved to the US, as a kid, I just collected like boxes and boxes of comics, and I could just devour them.
Well, better than nothing. Oh, I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk fuck around with that thing.
Get rid of that.
Look, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude.
I think those moments are so important in the game because it is heavy. And we need to have those moments to just sort of all have sort of a collective sigh of relief to have a break for a moment. And, you know, with the porn magazine, for instance, it's so funny because, you know, when we were talking about it, I don't think that I ever would have talked to my dad about a porn magazine, let alone talk about a porn magazine in that way. But that just shows how interesting Joel and Ellie's relationship is. And the whole joke where she asks why the pages are stuck together and he panics, but she's fucking with him. She knows. And it's so good because you think it's going to be a moment where Joel is panicking and he's like, oh man, I got to have the birds and the bees conversation with her. And she's like, nah, dude, I already know about all that shit. It's fine. It's just this beautiful sort of moment of him thinking, oh, I need to be a parent in this moment. And she's like, no, it's okay. I've raised myself to a certain degree. There's a lot of stuff that I already know, but we can joke about these things together because that's just what life is now. You know, for us, it takes us a long time when we start forming a friendship or a relationship to really put our sense of humor out there because you don't know if your sense of humor is going to line up with somebody else's. If you say something, are they going to find that funny? Are they going to find it offensive? And sense of humor is such a big part of who we all are and the things that we find funny, which doesn't make any sense from one person to the next person. But I feel like being able to share that with someone is the biggest sign of comfortability. And the fact that they get to that place and they start joking around and having a fun time, it shows their closeness and how this time that they've spent together and this journey that they've gone on, they're getting closer and they care about each other and they're starting to enjoy each other's company. And that needs to happen. That needed to be there.
As we move through the game, the world becomes, or aspects of the world, there are still moments of levity, but aspects of the world become more brutal in terms of both the human enemies that we encounter and their ferocity, and also enemies like hunters.
Easy.
Please!
Holy shit.
Help!
Are we gonna help him?
Put your seatbelt on, Ellie.
Well, what about the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
And the approach to what Joel and Ellie have to fight and physically combat. Is there an analogy there to Joel and Ellie's moral compass also sliding, or is it just kind of the mechanics of gameplay that we need new enemies for our players to kind of deal with?
It's almost all those things. So we wanted to show there are multiple threats in this world. One is the infected, and it's almost like when you think of a natural disaster. There isn't someone strategizing how to use these infected to kill people. It's just nature is now killing us in large numbers. But then knowing when supplies get scarce and people get desperate, they can turn very primal and violent.
Get away from us, huh? We're back, motherfucker!
And we wanted to explore that both in the story and in gameplay. So, you know, when Ellie and Joel get to Pittsburgh, it's the first time. I guess there's a little bit in the opening in Boston, but we really don't really dive into it until you get to Pittsburgh. And we just see how violent and how desperate people have become and how tribal they've become. And anybody outside the tribe is seen almost no different as the infected. It's just someone you kill for for survival. And it was an opportunity to show through dialogue that this is something Joel has done. So I remember, like, as we talk about these different parts, I remember in my head when they came online, and we started production of the game with Pittsburgh. That was like one of the first environments we've built, and worked our way out from there. And one of the first bits of in-game dialogue we recorded is Ellie asking Joel, like, how did you know those people on the outset were trying to ambush us? And him saying,
I've been on both sides.
Oh. So, you kill a lot of innocent people? We'll take that as a yes.
Take it however you want.
And it was just like, it took a lot of time to get to that dialogue. But what I love about dialogue like that is it just all of a sudden your brain is filled with all sorts of backstory of like what this guy must have done to get to this place. And can he come back from that? It kind of fills your mind about who he is, and then raises interesting questions about where this might go.
I think Joel looks at himself as a lone survivor. He's like, whatever you need from me, I'll do whatever you need. I'll do whatever I have to. I don't need a jacket. I don't need a badge. I don't need any kind of affiliation or fraternity, especially. And by the way, that's one of my people are like, what's your favorite line from the game? I was like, that's it. She's like, how did you know about that? And he goes, because I've been on both sides. All right. And it's said so offhand. It's just like, because, like, what do you want to know, girl? I'll tell you everything. I think that to recognize that play, to be able to, like a quarterback, look down the line and go, they just changed, and to throw that audible and be able that you have been in that situation before, and you will not get caught looking again.
Oh, shit. Come here, keep your head down. All right, now, I'm going to jump down there and I'm going to clear us a path.
What about me?
You stay here.
This is so stupid. We'd have more of a fucking chance if you let me help.
I am. You seem to know your way around a gun. You reckon you can handle that?
Well, I sort of shot a rifle before, but it was at rats.
Rats?
With BBs.
Well, it's the same basic concept. Lift it up. You're going to lean right into that stock, as it is going to kick a hell of a lot more than any baby rifle.
Okay.
Go and pull the bolt back. Just tug it. There you go. And as soon as you fire, you're going to want to get another round in there quick. Listen to me. If I get into trouble down there, you make every shot count. Yeah?
I got this.
All right. And just so we're clear about back there, it was either him or me.
You're welcome. I love that Joel doesn't let her shoot until that point, because she is a kid. And that feels very real. And, oftentimes in video games, it's just like, yeah, give everybody a gun and let's just like go shoot up some stuff. But it's so real. If this happened today, there's no way that you would give your 14-year-old kid a gun on day one of an apocalypse. And I mean, at least I wouldn't. But that is such a huge turning point in the game and their relationship, because it shows a massive amount of trust between them. And I think Ellie at that point already trusted Joel in terms of how capable he was and how safe she sort of felt with him to a certain degree. But it feels like the first time that Joel puts his trust in her and his life in her hands. And that lands with her. And their relationship is different after that. How can it not be?
Yeah, and I think that is the key moment, because it's Ellie going from this, we've seen it so many times in video games, this character that the protagonist needs to escort and protect everywhere, to later that role totally reverses.
When we sort of first started shooting the game, there was a lot of conversation. I am a gamer, and as sort of your companion that you are carrying with you the whole time, sometimes it can feel like a burden. Sometimes, not every time. Of course, you fall in love with your companion character and you want to take care of them. But there are moments when you're playing and you're like, they keep like getting in the way and I keep having to go over here and save them. And obviously that's the game mechanics. But in sort of the discussions in when we first started shooting, there were a lot of conversations that we had and that I had with Neil where I was like, is there any way for her to be a little bit more capable or helpful? It's like, because I sometimes will get frustrated that like they don't have a weapon or they don't have anything to help and they're just standing there like, help me. I was like, I would love for Ellie to not be that. I know she's 14 and we have to keep that into consideration, but if there's some way where she could be more capable, I would love that. How'd I do?
How about something a little more your size? It's for emergencies only.
Okay.
Well, we wanted to apply all this pressure on Joel and Ellie when they're in Pittsburgh and they're stuck in this city. And it seems like everywhere you turn, there's this antagonistic force of the hunters or the infected trying to kill you. That you could easily turn into the same mindset as the hunters and not trust anybody. And anyone you come across, you kill them first, ask questions later. And we see the difference between Joel and Ellie when they come across these two people with Henry and Sam. And Joel's instinct is to just kill them because Joel has seen too much go wrong. It's actually the kids in this scenario of Ellie and Sam that bring pause to everything.
Joel, stop! Look!
Leave him alone.
Easy, son. Just take it easy.
It's all right. They're not the bad guys. Lower the gun. Yeah, I thought you were one of them, too. Then I saw you. If you haven't noticed, they don't keep kids around. I'm Henry. This is Sam. I think I caught your name was Joel.
Ellie.
How many are with you?
They're all dead. Hey, we don't know that.
We can help each other.
Ellie.
Safety in numbers and all that.
She's right. We could help each other.
So it became interesting from a dramatic standpoint to say, okay, now you're going to have to trust someone, a stranger. Can you do that? Is it okay to do that in this world? And they take a chance on them. And now that we have these two kids, where, again, you've been in just this nothing but survival mode. Ellie has just shot a person for the first time. She's lost some of her innocence. So she's in a different mindset. But now when we bring Sam in and someone her age, we get to see them kind of joking. And Henry even comments on that.
Wow.
All right, ready?
Ow.
A blueberry hurt you?
It's been a while since that boy even cracked a smile. She doesn't seem bothered by all this.
So it was an opportunity that we jumped on to explore the innocence of kids, even in horrific settings. And you read about this quite a lot, where people have to find levity, no matter what the situation is. And it happens in Holocaust. It happened in like even in some horrible situations in our world. You find stories of how people have found ways to keep themselves human.
So Joel and Ellie are going with Henry and Sam. They're on their way to the radio tower, which is outside of town, and they're going to find the rest of their group. But at the gates, they're attacked by the Humvee. Henry and Sam just take off. They don't even wait for Joel and Ellie. And so Joel and Ellie have to run to the bridge, where Ellie just jumps into the water, even though she can't swim. Joel is forced to jump in after her, and the current is super strong. Thankfully, both are rescued by
Henry! He's awake!
Hey, you. We're alive. Okay.
See? What'd I tell you, huh? He's good. Everything's fine.
You know, Sam's the one who spotted you. You guys are taking quite a bit of water.
What's wrong? Henry!
Get back,
son!
Hey. He's pissed, but he's not going to do anything.
You sure about that?
Stop!
Joel?
He left us to die out there.
No, you had a good chance of making it, and you did. But coming back for you meant putting him at risk.
If it was the other way around, would you have come back for us? I saved you.
He saved me too. We would have drowned.
You know, for what it's worth, I'm really glad we spotted you. Now, that radio tower, it's on the other side of this cliff, okay? Place is gonna be full of supplies. You're gonna be really happy you didn't kill me.
When you were making this moment, Neil, were you a father yet? Because this is a brother relationship, but it hit me as one of the strongest parent-child relationships in the game.
I mean, as I'm trying to recollect the timeline, I definitely my daughter would have already been born. I'm sure subconsciously there was a lot happening there, but you're right in that it is a brother relationship, but it's more of a paternal relationship. And again, it's as we're talking about this, I'm just seeing this through line of this theme of like protecting your kid versus giving them freedom to express themselves, to find who they are, to make mistakes. And we see that in the toy shop.
Sam, what are you doing? Nothing. Get rid of it. My backpack is practically empty.
What's the rule about taking stuff?
It weighs like nothing.
The rule. What is it?
We only take what we have to.
That's right. Now, come on.
So there's some truth to that, but it's also missing this other point of like kids need that escape. They need this other thing. So it's like, and that's why Ellie steals it and then gives it to Sam, which is this very kind of sweet gesture. But that's one of those things that just felt very true to me and felt like it had to get in the game. So all these, in some ways, Tess, in a lot of ways, Bill, in the most ways, Henry and Sam, when we go forward, these are all cautionary tales for Joel. So with Tess, it's like, okay, here's what's happened when you get idealistic and she believes she's going to save mankind, you're going to end up dead. With Bill, okay, well, here's what happens when you're just about survival and about like limiting your freedom, and it's not about having fun or living. He drove his partner away. And later when you find this suicide note, like it's all laid out there. It was like Frank was not happy with Bill and he wanted to escape, and Bill just is like, well, we survive in this town, that's all we need. And it's like, that wasn't enough for Frank. So that's a cautionary tale for Joel. Like, if you're just about survival, if you're just about keeping your emotions at bay, you're going to drive everyone else away. You're going to end up alone and miserable. And then later with Henry and Sam, there's like kind of the ultimate thing that Joel is afraid of, which is losing the person you love.
There's a piece of concept art that was one of the first, and if anybody has the collector's art book of The Last of Us, it's the kind of sepia-toned sketch. It's a picture of Joel and Ellie at a campsite, at a fire, and they're laughing. And I carried that picture with me every day to set, because to me, that was always the moment that we were trying to get to. Just the moment of levity, the moment of light. And the closest that we got was the scene with the beans.
Shut the hell up.
Dead serious. It was Tommy's birthday, and that's all he wanted to do is just rent 2 Harleys and drive cross country.
Oh, man. I could die happy if I could just ride one around the block. What was it like?
And we get to see for the first time Joel kind of being a bit nostalgic and wistful and having this moment of recollection of a fond memory.
It was good. It was real good.
Good? Can you believe this guy? Come on, man, give me details. Describe it.
You know what? You two deserve a little privacy.
No, Ellie. This isn't just any regular motorcycle, okay? You get on that bad boy, you feel that engine? Nothing like it.
Oh, yeah? How would you know?
Seen it in my dreams.
Okay. That's what we want. And that's what we need. We, at the end of the day, just need a basic human connection. And I think that's something that is very important to Ellie, because you don't have all of this external stuff. You know, she doesn't have going to the movies or staying at home playing video games or, you know, going out to the park and playing a game of soccer. It's all you have, and all she has is connections with people. And I think if you're someone who has dealt with loss, you realize how important that is. You know, and I think that's one of the main reasons why she gets connected with the Fireflies, because the Fireflies are simply trying to save humanity and save that connection. And I think it still goes back to her still trying to find meaning to all of that. Well, it's safe to say those two have officially bonded.
Did Henry send you?
No. Why would Henry send me?
To make sure I'm not fucking up somehow.
I'd say we all did pretty good back there. Especially you. Is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay. Well, have a good night.
How is it that you're never scared?
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body? Scared of that happening to me.
Okay. First of all, we're a team now. Okay, we're gonna help each other out. And second, they might still look like people, but that person is not in there anymore.
Henry says that they've moved on, that they're with their families, like in heaven. Do you think that's true?
I go back and forth. I mean, I'd like to believe it.
But you don't.
I guess not.
Yeah. Me neither.
All right. I'm pooped. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Sam?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Thanks, Joel.
All right. We did it.
We should move.
No. Sam! Sam, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Come on!
Let's move!
Damn. That smells good.
Good morning.
Where's Sam? Sam? Sam!
What the hell? Shit, he's turning! That's my fucking brother! Screw it!
Shit!
Ellie? Ellie, are you all right?
Oh my god.
Sam?
Oh no.
Sam?
Henry? Ellie, stay there. Henry?
What have you done?
I'm gonna get that gun from you, okay? Oh, okay, easy.
This is your fault.
This is nobody's fault, Henry.
It's all your fault.
Henry! Henry, no!
Oh my god.
Next week on the official The Last of Us podcast.
Jackson County. Means we're close to Jackson City, right?
Shouldn't be more than a few miles.
You ready to see dear old brother?
I'm just ready to get there.
You nervous?
I don't know what I'm feeling.
I believe that it's one of the most important moments in their relationship because they both, to some degree, are opening up about some heavy stuff. And granted, it's a bit of a heated exchange, but they're getting stuff out. They're both trying to figure out how much they actually do care about each other.
The official Last of Us podcast is produced by PlayStation and Spoke Media, is hosted by me, Christian Spicer, and written by Brigham Mosley. Our Sony PlayStation team includes Charlie Yater, Christian Cardona, and Carrie Surtees. Our Naughty Dog team includes Arnie Meyer and Scott Lowe. Our production team is Carson McCain, Kelly Kolf, Trey Jones, Reyes Mendoza, and Alicia Force. This episode was mixed by Evan Arnett, who contributed additional sound design and music. Today's episode included interviews with Neil Druckmann, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and Eric Panyolinen. Executive producers are Aaliyah Tavakolian and Keith Reynolds. Thanks for listening.
What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
This is the official The Last of Us podcast. I'm your host, Christian Spicer. And as we all await the release of Game 2, I'm revisiting Part 1 and talking with the visionaries and talent who made it. We'll be talking all about how the game was made, and we'll be tracking the story beat by beat so you can relive it with us. If you haven't listened to our first 2 episodes yet, be sure to go back and do that as we're walking through the story chronologically. In today's episode, we'll be covering the fall chapter as well as the DLC Left Behind. I'll be talking with Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, aka Joel and Ellie, UI designer Alexandria Neonaki, and writer and creative director Neil Druckmann. At the end of our last episode, we were left with the tragic deaths of Henry and Sam. It's an unforgettable moment that sticks with me to this day, and it closes out the summer chapter of the game. Now we're in a new season, though. It's fall, and Joel and Ellie have made their way out of Pittsburgh, and they're on their way to Joel's brother, Tommy.
I guess to talk about fall, we have to back up a little bit and talk about, the whole summer section, especially Pittsburgh, is about Joel and Ellie learning to trust each other. It's like they don't like each other and they're learning to respect each other. Joel becomes, at the outset of Pittsburgh, Joel is overprotective.
And you just hang back like I told you to.
And we're trying to show it multiple times where he shoots Ellie down when she's trying to be helpful.
I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid.
Until eventually he gives her the rifle and he starts trusting her.
You seem to know your way around a gun. You reckon you can handle that?
And she proves herself in his eyes. And he's like bringing some of his guard down and he's opening up to her more.
How about something a little more your size?
Until Henry and Sam. Until he sees a reflection of their relationship embodied with these 2 other people, where Sam has now died and Henry has just experienced a fate worse than death and takes his own life. And Joel sees himself in that. So now that event has made himself distance himself from Ellie. And now his focus become, get her to my brother. I can't handle this. And that's where we come into fall, is like, you feel the tension between the characters. The relationship is different, and Joel is not answering Ellie's question the way he was in the end of summer.
Does that have anything to do with me?
Talk about it later.
Later.
And there's the moment of just walking, and when they find the small grave when you're walking past the dam. And again, it's another reminder that children die in this world. And Joel says,
"That's too small of a grave."
I forgot to leave that stupid robot on his grave. What should I do with it?
Ellie.
What?
And then, of course, Ellie's the one that admonishes Joel.
I want to talk about it.
No.
Why not?
How many times do we need to go over this? Things happen, and we move on.
As we head into Tommy's town, we haven't seen each other in how long? How long has it been since? And that was one of the questions that we asked. And of course, Neil answers like, "What do you think?" And Jeffrey has his version of like what happened, and I have my own version of what happened. And I like the fact that they're different.
I imagine Joel and Tommy have their own versions of what happened as well.
Absolutely. And to me, that's exactly why. It's like those narratives are probably different. It's like, well, he said, no. What he's not telling you is that he said this first.
Don't even think about reaching for your weapon. Tell the girl to drop hers now.
Ellie, do as the lady says.
Okay.
Please tell me you're lost.
Oh, we didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
But what Joel is expecting to find on the other side of that gate is for his brother to go, "Get the fuck out of here."
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him.
And instead he grabs him.
He's my goddamn brother.
Tommy.
Holy shit.
And Joel is so taken back by that.
How you doing, baby brother?
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Let me look at you. You get fucking old.
Easy. It's going to happen to you, too.
This is Maria. Be nice to her. She sort of runs things around here.
Ma'am, thanks for not blowing my head off.
Would have been embarrassing, considering you're my brother-in-law.
We all got to get wrangled up at some point.
Ellie, right?
Yeah.
What brings you through here?
It's kind of a long story.
Why don't we bring him inside?
Yeah. You hungry?
Starving.
Yeah, the whole idea of family is like something that's been instilled in me. Is like, you don't choose your family. Your family is who they are, and you deal with them, and you love them, and you respect them. And it's like, sure, sometimes you fight in horrible ways, but they're your family. You don't get to choose them. You don't get to push them out. And later, we find out that Joel and Tommy had like a pretty big falling out. And yet when they see each other, they can't help but embrace each other and miss each other. And again, it's that idea of tribalism. And you could have overlaps of different tribes that you belong to. And here is one that's blood, his biological brother. So that was important to capture, especially knowing we're about to put them at odds with this request or almost demand that Joel makes of Tommy that take this girl off my hands.
I've been on quite the adventure, little brother.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
Well, go on then.
She's immune.
Immune to what?
Come on. I know. I've seen her breathe enough spores to take down a dozen men. And nothing. Now, I wouldn't have believed it neither. But I can show you.
All right. I'll bite. Why bring her here?
I was supposed to deliver to the Fireflies. The way I figure they're your boys. You finish the job, you collect the whole damn payment.
I haven't seen a Firefly in years.
But you know where they are. Now, I'm not asking for much, Tommy. I just want some simple gear, enough to set me on my way.
What makes you think I'd do this for you?
This isn't for me, Tommy. This is for your damn cause.
My cause is my family now. You ain't talking about some walk in the park here.
Jesus, boy. Have Maria get some of your born-again friends to do it.
They got families, too.
Tommy, I need this.
You want some gear? Sure. But I ain't taking that girl off your hands.
I think that moment is that remembrance of Joel that this isn't a job. This is an investment in tragedy, and there's only one way this is going to play out. So it's a moment of cowardice of Joel. It's a complete abdication of everything of who he was as a father and who he is as a mercenary who is paid to do a job. And he's going to be neither of those things. And what he's going to do is he's going to pawn this girl off to, she's going to die, but I won't be anywhere near it when it happens.
Is he afraid of losing Ellie in the sense of even just giving her over to Tommy? Is there loss there, or losing a mission? What does he have to go back to at this point? There's no test. Is there another gun run? Like, where is Joel?
He's lost. He doesn't have, what is he going to go back to the quarantine zone? He can't go back there. No one's there waiting for him. Matter of fact, if anybody is waiting for him, they're waiting to kill him.
Right.
He can't go. Where does he have to go?
Do you think in Joel's heart of hearts at that moment, he actually wants Tommy to say no?
I think if it didn't go down the way it did and Tommy just said yes, Joel would have rode off. I really do, because that to him would have been like, this is what's meant to be. And when he tells Ellie, like, you'll be safer with Tommy, there's a part of him in that moment that believes that. The thing that kind of changes his mind is when Ellie says,
everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you.
So like that makes her feel safer, as being with Joel. Like she makes an argument of like, of course in the moment he doesn't hear her because he's just so caught up with her running away and her putting herself at risk. And it's like, right, it's like an angry parent. Every parent has had this, where you get so upset with your kid almost hurting themselves. Your kid gets frightened of like your reaction of like, because you're yelling at them or you're grabbing them by the shoulders. It's like, but it's because you're so scared for their safety. And you might be oversteering in your reaction. And that's exactly what Joel is doing at this point.
Is this really all they had to worry about? Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt? It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving. Come on.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area.
Oh, fuck that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie? You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad.
I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes that we actually shot. And I believe that it's one of the most important moments in their relationship, because they both, to some degree, are opening up about some heavy stuff. And granted, it's a bit of a heated exchange, but they're getting stuff out. They're both trying to figure out how much they actually do care about each other. And it was always interesting to me that Joel assumed that Ellie didn't know what loss was, because how could you not know what loss is in this world? I mean, everyone has lost someone. But you can choose to not let people in Because if anything happened to that person, you'd have to experience that loss again. And Joel has learned to cope by distancing himself from people on purpose. And Ellie has absolutely thrown a wrench in that. But it's interesting to me how they both have recovered from loss. Joel with deciding to not let people in. And yes, Ellie is only 14 years old and hasn't had as much life experience as Joel has. But what's refreshing about that is she's on the other end of the spectrum. Yes, loss is hard, but we need people, and I'm going to let you in. And Joel is pushing it away, and Ellie's forcing him to realize that he does need people, and you're going to be hurt anyway, so you might as well be surrounded by people you care about. Ellie knows this about Joel. She's not stupid. She's young, but she sees his pain, and she asks him what he's so afraid of because she knows. She's trying to make him talk about it, and that's why she says, I'm not her, you know. And she's smart. She puts two and two together, and she doesn't want to go on the rest of the journey with anyone else because at this point, she cares about Joel and she trusts him.
That moment was a baptism for both Joel and Ellie. And they were, the people that they were, went under the water and then they came back up and was like, all right, I'm in. I'm fully in. We leave Tommy's town. There's the reconciliation there. There's forgiveness there. And it's like, all right, I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do this thing that I'm going to do. And I'm going to follow through on this.
There she is.
Where is this lab of theirs?
It's all the way out, University of Eastern Colorado.
Go bighorns. Ellie, get off your horse. Give it on back to Tommy. I'm gonna hang on to this fella. That's all right with you. Go on, don't make me repeat myself.
What are you doing?
Your wife kind of scares me. I don't want her coming after me.
Sorry for stealing your horse.
Well, come back to town. Let's discuss it at least.
You know me, my mind's all made up. University, Eastern Colorado. How do I find this lab?
It's in the science building. Looks like a giant mirror. You can't miss it.
You take care of that wife of yours.
There's a place for you here, you know.
You good?
I'm good.
Adios, little brother.
So at this point in the game, Joel takes Ellie and they are off to the university.
Hey, over there. Is that it?
It does look like a giant mirror.
How many people do you think are there? Fireflies, I mean.
I reckon it takes quite a crew to run that operation.
You think there'll be other people my age?
I'm not sure.
There are no fireflies.
Yoo-hoo! Fireflies! Here for mankind over here. Anyone?
But there are monkeys.
Aw, are those monkeys?
Yeah, a whole mess of them.
That was kind of awesome.
First time seeing a monkey?
First time seeing a monkey.
And I'm curious from a design standpoint, the purpose for monkeys at this moment and all the things it could possibly represent. I mean, like the larger story that moment is telling within this world that the characters are living in.
I'm sure it started with a brainstorm of like, okay, we knew we wanted to go to this university. We wanted to keep you on this trail, this clue chain to find the fireflies. And wanted to say they've done some research here. They were here trying to develop a vaccine. They failed. And that's where the idea for like a monkey came up with at the end, like that they were testing monkeys. Monkeys could get infected with this thing, unlike other animals. And the guy doing the research was bitten by them. And then we worked our way backwards from that moment, which is at the end of the level, to say, okay, what are interesting things you could see in this level as you're riding around and you're coming across all these dead ends? It's like, well, if he let all the monkeys loose, then there should be like a pack of monkeys running around here. And that way, like, okay, cool. Well, when you crest this hill and you come across this fountain, then we can place all these monkeys and animate them. And it becomes this like kind of beautiful moment that then sets up this disappointment of like finding later that everyone has already left.
I'm curious to what extent that loss continues for Joel and Ellie in terms of the false, and this isn't quite right, but the false starts and stops of hope they have, where so much of the game seems to be, if we just get this thing, we'll get to this and we're done. Now we just need to get to the university and we'll get this and it's done. And feeling that loss each time, what keeps them going? Why keep marching, and why not pull a Bill or pull a Tommy and put a tent down somewhere and give it up?
Yeah, and the answer is each other. That I guess for Ellie, maybe it's a little more complicated. It's finding purpose in the loss. That's what drives her. And every time they experience another loss, it's more of a drive to finish this. It's more of a reason to keep going, not less of a reason. And then for Joel, and by the time we get to the university, so we kind of hit this low point where he was adamant about getting rid of Ellie. They have their biggest fight where she shoves him and tells him she's not his daughter. And, he's just trying to be really mean to her to push her away. But it has the opposite effect where he realizes at that point, it's got to be me. Like no one else, like I'm the best equipped to do this. And now he's just take it on, whatever that means. Like he's understanding that he might feel the same loss he's felt before, and he's realizing maybe it's worth it. So the most he's put his guard down. And you hear it in his voice and in their conversation they're having is like, he's telling her now, like he had a kid when he was really young, and that was really rough on him.
Have you ever been to one of these?
What, university?
Yeah.
No, not as a student, at least.
Why not?
I had Sarah when I was pretty young.
Were you married?
For a while.
What happened?
Okay. Too much.
He misses like singing and playing guitar and...
Well, when I was a kid, I used to want to be a singer.
Shut up.
I'm serious.
Sing something.
No.
Come on.
He's talking to Ellie about like she wanted to be an astronaut.
Hey, I was thinking I would have wanted to be an astronaut.
That a fact?
Yeah. Can you imagine being up there all by yourself? Would have been cool. I'm just saying.
Then these two characters are really opening up to each other in a way they haven't before. And of course, being cruel writers that we are, we're doing that knowing that Joel is about to get impaled on a rebar and pretty much die as far as the player knows.
Yeah, when the definitive edition or whatever, another collector's edition comes out, I want the steel case with the back of the box quote to be by you, and it says, "We're fucking cruel writers. Please enjoy The Last of Us Part 1.
But I mean, like, we laugh, but to me, those are the best stories.
So you took us there, and I think it's a great place to continue the conversation of you gave them hope. The team, Naughty Dog, the story, gives Joel and Ellie hope through the recordings.
You're looking for the Fireflies. They've all left.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm dead. Or I will be soon.
They find out where the Fireflies are going. They have their breadcrumbs. Hansel and Gretel are on the path. Everything's looking, here comes Mr. Brightside.
Good luck with that.
Do you know where that is?
I know the city.
Is it far?
It ain't close. I mean, on horseback.
What? The Fireflies?
Get down!
Oh!
And then Joel and Ellie are ambushed, and Joel is impaled.
Oh, man.
Let's get to the damn horse.
Okay. Come on. Can you get on?
It feels random. In the moment, it feels like, oh, it's just another group of hunters trying to kill us to steal our stuff. It's some faceless enemy, even though it is human. But as a player, you're almost been now conditioned to think of them as just, okay, it's just another NPC. And then later we wanted to give this moment more weight to say, no, it wasn't just any NPC. Like you fighting these guys had consequences going forward. You killing these people and then trying to kill you and injuring Joel has affected these whole other section that you're about to get into. And you won't know until the end of that section that that was the case, or midway through that section. So that's what was important for us, to show that, one, it could just, these deaths, these moments can just come out of nowhere. Even with, like, when you think about Henry and Sam, it was just like some random runner that just bit him. It wasn't, as far as you know, it wasn't some climactic moment. It wasn't this big heroic sacrifice. It just happens. And often in life, that's how these things go down.
And then after Joel is impaled, we continue to play as him. That is still the character that the player is in control of. And while pre-release marketing never, if I recall correctly, never let us know that we would play as someone else.
Yeah, not only that, we actively lied about playing as someone else.
Okay, so that's another back of the box quote.
Yeah, we wanted the player for this moment to lose hope. That they've come to care for this guy, and they come to love this relationship these two characters have for one another. And this whole, we haven't talked a lot about mechanics, but the whole time you're getting better at controlling him, at the mechanics of using the guns, using melee, of protecting yourself, of relying on Ellie. You're upgrading your character, different abilities, so their stats are getting better, and that makes you kind of a stronger force to be reckoned with. And now we're stripping all that away. So now you're moving slower. You can't, when you try to run, Joel stumbles.
You handle the window?
Yeah.
Come on, move!
Your weapons sway way more. In fact, like, as you're walking forward, there's like specific moments we have Joel just tumble down, or he like leans onto counters, and he's just bleeding a lot. And we want you to start thinking, holy shit, is this guy going to die? Is like Naughty Dog going to kill off the main character here? So we want you to start asking that question, so that by the time you get to the next part and we don't show you what happened and you're only playing as Ellie, we want you to at least entertain, is Joel dead? Did they just kill off Joel? And I felt like that was important for our medium and this kind of story, for you to play that transition and not just see it. So that was always going to be from the very first pitch, that was the reason to make this game, was this shift in perspective. That you have these kind of more stereotypical characters, that you have the protector and the protectee, and then you're going to flip it on its head. And then the quote unquote damsel in distress has to become the protector, and Joel is so incapacitated, she has to take care of him.
I think we're safe. Joel? Joel? Shit. Joel, here. Oh, get up. You gotta tell me what to do. Come on. You gotta get up. Joel?
Ellie learned so much from Joel, and in that part of the game, we really see how much she's grown, and it shows how important their relationship has been. And we also see how fiercely loyal she is, and she wants to protect him and save him, not just to finish the journey, but because she cares so much about him. And of course, there's an extra layer of worry and anxiety now because she feels responsible, because this is post that conversation of her being like, hey, let's be there for each other. I think she needed that time of him not being able to tell her what to do for her to trust herself to grow. Of being like, hey, you're on your own. I've taught you as much as I can. Not that he put her out on her own on purpose. But I think she took all the knowledge that she learned from him and was able to help him and protect him.
What I love is that it didn't just slam to black, but that there's this moment that's delayed so that Joel could witness the fact that he is no longer capable of protecting her, which forces her once again to be in a situation where people are trying to kill her, and she is the one that ends up killing, and she does it so brutally and dispassionately, and she becomes we get to witness firsthand through those in and out of consciousness moments of Ellie becoming the protector.
What do you think Joel learned in those moments?
Well, I think it was one of those things for him that it was a big turning point because he realized how much she cared about him, and that obviously he was in this position because of her, but he is still alive because of her. And I think up until this point in the game, he was trying to deny that he cared about her. And I think he realizes, I care so much about this person, and that sets up the rest of the game of the decisions that he makes, where he's like, oh, this relationship is so important to me. I will do anything to keep this because I've forgotten about this and I've forgotten the importance of this.
Riley?
Ow. I landed on my hip.
What the hell? I thought I was bitten.
I know. It was kind of awesome. You're not gonna kill me, are you?
I haven't seen you, and I don't even know how long.
45 days. Well, 46, technically. Wanna know what I've been up to?
All this time, I thought you were dead.
Yeah. Here. Look.
No way. You're a firefly. Here, congrats.
Hey, put some pants on and let's go.
I'm so dumb.
Oh, come on. When have we ever gotten into trouble?
So we're talking Left Behind, the DLC, or for some folks who came to the party late, the standalone DLC. And in Left Behind, we not only learned, as players, we got to see things that we didn't see in the main game, but we also learned more about Ellie's character that took place chronologically before the main game started. Actually, I'm curious for you if you always knew there would be DLC, or if not, what that was like when you got the call and you found out that you're going to be doing, going back in and making what became Left Behind.
I always knew that there was going to be a DLC. I didn't know what it was going to be about. And I feel like for most of the game, I just assumed it would be another part of Joel's story. And once we got closer to shooting the DLC and Neil sort of toying with some different ideas, he finally, he took me out and we talked about it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I initially was nervous because I was like, well, and he's like, don't worry, Troy's still going to be in it, but it's, it's going to be part of this part of the story, and then there's going to be flashbacks. And I remember I was very excited and very interested to see how they were going to do that. And I remember some of the first art that I saw for it was the carousel of when the doors first open and the power is on in the mall.
Whoa.
Instantly, it made all the sense. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is the story that needs to be told.
Come on, get up here, sit next to me.
All right, wait up.
And now in the DLC, we step back and we see kind of what Ellie's maybe normal life would be like, whether it's, she's asleep in her room and Riley kind of busting in. And I'm curious what you thought Ellie's normal life was going into Left Behind. What was just a regular 9 to 5?
Yeah, Neil and I actually talked about this where, it's, and also trying to figure out why she was initially so scared to sort of sneak out and go into the mall. And, they have schedules to this life. And, she doesn't have any parents, so she's kind of with all these other kids that have lost their parents or their families, and they go to school, they run their drills, and they live this life just in this small quarantine zone. And it's all they know. You know, they don't have anything else to compare it to. But we as an audience know what that comparison is. And I think that's what makes it devastating, because you're like, you could have such a different life than this, but this is what you're given.
And also for players, this is the first time we found out that Ellie is queer. I'm curious when you found that out and what it was like bringing that into the role.
Yeah, I actually, when we had finished the game, right before we had started the DLC, I think is when Neil told me, he's like, hey, I want to talk to you about this and your thoughts on this. I have an idea for the DLC, and something that I've thought is I think Ellie is queer. And what are your thoughts on that? And I'm pretty sure that's when it happened. I know for me, for a lot of the first part of the game, we hadn't talked about Ellie's sexuality. And I always felt like when that was decided, something clicked with Ellie, because she's definitely queer. Like it makes all the sense in the world. And I wish I would have known that from the beginning, because I don't know if I would have done anything differently. Who knows? But I was just so excited to jump into the DLC with that in mind, and knowing that the friendship and the relationship with Riley was, there was a heavier weight there.
Something that I found so personally beautiful about Ellie's character is that it worked in the main game before I had experienced Left Behind. And after learning Ellie's sexuality, there wasn't anything in the game that stood out as not working in my head. If anything, it let me re-examine scenes from the game, and they became more powerful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because I feel like playing the DLC and then going back and playing the game through, a lot of things do land a little harder, especially with Bill, when you're like, oh man, he's talking about his partner, and I really wonder how that landed for Ellie. And I feel like Left Behind is such a beautiful story of first love, and it's also incredibly sad because we know what the outcome is. But I do feel like it's great to play that and then go back to the first game with that knowledge, because Ellie becomes so much more of a well-rounded character.
My name's Alexandria Naonaki. On Last of Us 1 and Left Behind, I was the UI designer.
So I'd love to start with what your day-to-day was.
It was a lot of trying to compress years worth of work into months. And so it was like, I would do these like wireframe mock-ups, and I would bring them to Bruce Straley and Neil and be like, hey, like, what do you think of doing something like this for the weapon cross? Or what do you think of something like this for crafting? And then I'd even try doing like some real minor scripting to try to make stuff work. So it was very like fly by the seat of your pants and like really chaotic. And then the next day it would be like, okay, let's look at it. Let's talk about what works and what doesn't work. Let's play through the game and feel it out. So it was very game designy, much more than like on the art side of things. And it was very collaborative. It was a lot of getting out of my seat and working with Neil and Bruce and the other designers as well and programmers to try to get it done and get it as good as we could get it with the limited resources we had and the limited time that we had.
So you mentioned kind of the weapon wheel or the weapon selector and crafting. What are other UI moments that players have likely seen when they experience the game that maybe they didn't think of as something that needed to have art and design and that stuff associated with it? The things I think a lot of us maybe just take for granted.
I mean, anything that's giving you the player kind of game specific information. So the little icons at the bottom that tell you what weapon you have equipped, how much ammo you have, if you're able to craft something. So every little, it's that like layer on the screen that's between you as the player and the game itself. It's like the thing that you are actually interacting with in an attempt to interact with the game, I guess, if that makes any sense. All the menus, so including multiplayer in factions, I did all of the menu design for that and any of the UI that ended up in factions as well.
You don't know how many people just let out a cheer when you mentioned multiplayer in factions.
Yeah. The Last of Us multiplayer is awesome.
It's so good. Do you think there were more challenges in making UI for a game that is so grounded in realism versus whatever your example would be of like a video game where numbers are flying off of things, you know, and it can be bombastic and whatever because it's not this grounded universe?
I think that's twofold because there were definitely people in the studio who wanted to have that more like classic video game thing, especially if you look at something like multiplayer, like, you know, you're kind of used to seeing certain things in games like that. But there was kind of the blessing of there not being enough time. And so we had prototyped some stuff that for the UI that had a bit more of like texture to it. But because we had so little time, it was easier for me to push that. I like really minimal stuff. I feel like you notice it less. Like if something's really tactile, it kind of starts to stand out, especially because you can't control how the user's going to see it. Like if they're looking at it against like a bright sky, it's going to look different than looking at it against like a dark, like going through a tunnel situation with a flashlight. So minimal stuff can kind of reduce some of that a little bit, and it helps it blend into the background a bit more so it's not pulling attention to itself. And so I had known that that's what I wanted to do with it, and most people as well in the company knew that that's what they wanted to see with it, very minimal, to allow more attention to go on the story and the art in the game. But of course there's people, and like because Naughty Dog, everyone gets to have a say, like sometimes you'd get people that were like, you know, oh, I like it when games look more like the World of Warcraft type of UI, and it's like, okay, well, it's a different style of game, and we don't have time, so we're not going to do it. So yeah, it was kind of a blessing.
Let's take a minute to talk through Left Behind, because it serves the purpose of filling in a gap, both in Ellie's backstory and also the moments in the main game that we didn't see of her taking care of Joel. For many players, myself included, who played The Last of Us Part 1 at launch, it was a chapter we all played after having experienced the ending and, you know, feeling whatever it is we felt towards Joel and Ellie. I'm curious your take on how that after the fact experience maybe colors players' perceptions of the end and what that moment of caretaking was like for Ellie in Joel's time of need.
It all felt to me like strengthening that moment where they're in the girl's room where Ellie has run away and Joel finds her and they have that kind of spat, that fight. It kind of strengthened that for me where it's like, okay, Ellie, like that you don't really get much into how much loss Ellie has experienced. And so to me, Left Behind was about that. It was like, Joel's not the only person in this world who's experienced extreme loss. This very young girl from a very young age has had nothing but loss in her life, and that's obviously affected her. On the DLC, the thing that I did the most was in-game branding, so like fake mall logos, and I even did like fake Twitter accounts and all this stuff because it takes place in two malls. There's like the Colorado Mall, and then there's the Boston Mall where she's spending time with Riley. So the Colorado Mall, which is the mall where you're trying to scavenge stuff to help Joel, is an older mall. We decided that it would have been one of those, and this was like not just me, by the way. This is very much a group effort in these decisions, as anything.
I'll take credit for it. It was
So that mall was made to feel more like, I don't know if you remember malls in the early 90s that like were like a little darker inside, and like in some places people still smoked in them, and there's a lot of tile everywhere. So it's meant to feel a lot older. And then whereas the Boston Mall, which is I think called like Liberty Gardens or something like that was supposed to be like one of your high end, like it would have been at the time in 2013, like a very nice, very new, updated mall that had new stores. It was really interesting, the stuff that I went through with trying to come up with these, because like a lot of the branding that I ended up doing would be stuff that like I wouldn't make that choice to do as a designer. Like if I was doing someone's branding, I wouldn't use the fonts that I use, and I wouldn't I did on purpose bad kerning in some things because it was like, well, that's what real malls look like, and you want to make it so that it doesn't feel too too noticeable. So that was more Colorado Mall was very kind of like, you know, mom and pop stores that had cropped up in this mostly dead mall. And then the Liberty Boston Mall was like, there was like a doll store similar to like an American Girl doll store. And like there's a Swirls yogurt, like frozen yogurt, which has obviously been popular since whenever, but was very popular back in 2013 when it hit like its peak of everyone getting really excited about it. So yeah, it was like a lot of thought went into that, the type of stores that she was going into and what colors are being used in the two malls, how those color palettes played off of each other so that you would know, since we were jumping around in time, you would know like, okay, now I'm in the Colorado Mall versus the Boston Mall.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
What are we doing? Whoa, 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 whoa. Riley, come here.
No, you got this. Go.
What the heck? This is awesome.
I feel like Left Behind is, had I not played it after playing part one, I would maybe think like what a delightful little indie game this is of wonderful moments. Instead, I knew at some point the other shoe was going to drop, where these wonderful moments would not be bookend with a rainbow and Riley and Ellie saying, see you tomorrow, to one another as they go their separate ways. And I think a moment that kind of led up to that, as we kind of build to this crescendo, if you will, is Riley and Ellie dancing. Ellie's Walkman Riley finds a way to play the music from it. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw, was it concept art that you drew of that moment of the two of them dancing? Is that right?
That was actually after the fact. That was like, it's kind of fan art, I guess, but it was for the Gallery Nucleus show that we did for the 30th anniversary.
It's such a beautiful moment. What inspired you to make that piece?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's probably my favorite, her and Riley dancing. And yeah, I mean, it's something that we hadn't seen in a AAA game. Like I feel like we've seen stuff like that in like indie games at the time, but to see like a lesbian couple like that in a AAA quality game was like, I'd never seen anything like that. So it felt very special. And I know it meant a lot to so many fans. Like we have a very a fan base that runs the gambit, a lot of ages, a lot of genders and everything. But we, particularly at the time, had a very strong fan base of young women. And so to see that played out in a game that they loved by a company they loved, I know meant a lot to them. And so that meant a lot to me, that we could really touch people like that and make them feel seen in a game of this quality.
What is that? Hey, what's wrong?
Don't go. Sorry.
For what?
What do we do now?
We'll figure it out.
That's my favorite part of the DLC. That and the video game. When they play the turning and Riley's like, all right, I'm going to break this down for you.
Man, for a second I thought I was going to play it.
Close your eyes. You're playing as the unstoppable, claw-wielding, yet drop-dead gorgeous Angel Knives. She stands on the edge of the Shadow Temple. Your opponent, Black Fang, steps out of the temple.
Fight.
Round one starts. Black Fang rushes towards you. He throws a double punch in your direction. Jump up! He grabs you. Mash punch to break free. Yes! Fuck him up!
Finish it.
The screen turns dark. Angel Knives' blades begin to glow. She pierces his torso again and again until his heart flies right out of his chest. She winds back her leg and roundhouses his head clean off. A geyser of blood covers the entire playing field.
Oh, nice.
That is an ultra kill. You win.
Fuck yeah, I win.
Not bad for your first game.
It was all right.
You loved it.
Yeah, I kind of did.
It's beautiful. And even when I replayed it recently, I was like, oh, I wish this would have ended differently. But then I know we wouldn't have the first game. But she taught Ellie a lot in the time that they knew each other of like, yeah, life is hard, but try to find some happiness somewhere. And Riley's doing that the whole game. She's like, come on, get out of bed. Let's go. Like, well, I'm going to take you someplace really super awesome. I remember Neil sort of breaking down what was going to happen in that moment. And, you know, for me, shooting the scene, I was just standing in front of, like a big block of wood, and then just like pretending that I'm doing something, and then like, eyes closed. And then Yanni was like talking to me about the game and doing her whole bit. And I literally was just kind of standing there, like acting like I was playing with controls with my eyes closed and smiling every once in a while. And, trying to sort of visualize what I think Ellie was seeing. But when I actually played it in the game, I was like, this is such a good idea. It's such a cool game mechanic because it also shows how much Riley cares about Ellie, because she knows she has been wanting to play something like this, and she gives her that experience in her own way. And that's why you're like, Riley's the fucking best. And it makes all the sense why Ellie has feelings for her and she loves her and she wants to hang out with her all the time. And I love that moment because it's such an act of kindness and happiness that Riley wants to give Ellie. And I think all of those moments, with the carousel or with the Halloween masks or even in the photo booth, and those moments feel so special because we as an audience know they're so few and far between. I want her to have these moments. And I love this DLC so much, and so much of it is because of flopping the game mechanics of like the water gun fight or taking the brick to have it be like a contest of breaking the windshield. And I think it's very, very clever, but also story-wise, it lets us know so much about Ellie and how important Riley was to her in her life before meeting Joel, and her life before being defined by being immune, which I feel like when that happens, which we don't see at the end of the DLC, but we know that she never turned, and we don't know the horror that she saw with Riley turning and nothing happening to her, and how she got out of there. There's a lot left that's unsaid that we can only imagine how hard that must have been. The weight that Ellie will always carry with her of like, well, why didn't that happen to me too? Or like, I wish I could have done something. I wish I could have helped her. I wish we would have left earlier so she could still be here. And I think the fact that they kissed right before they ended up getting attacked, I think that was the first time Ellie experienced that. It was her first kiss, her first crush, and that probably doesn't happen a lot in this world of connecting with someone physically and emotionally like that, because it's intense. It's too hard to sort of have that, and Joel talks about this with Tess in the game of like, getting close to someone is good for one thing. And that's, I don't know, maybe it's Bill who says it.
Look, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing, getting you killed.
Basically, if you have that connection with someone, it's dangerous. And Riley's her first love, will always be her first love, and she carries her with her. And even when I was shooting the second game, I was thinking a lot about Riley. For most actors or anything that you're doing in any form of art, loss plays a really big role. It's one human emotion that we've all experienced in some way. And I lost my dad when I was 16, and it's so weird at that age to try and think of the important conversations to have that you know are going to be your last. And we knew he had cancer, so we had time with him, which I'm thankful for that because it wasn't something that was abrupt. I mean, it's all shitty, but you know, it was, we tried to sort of talk about all of the things that we thought would be important at that time. And what do you say? Like, what do you say at that age? And I think about it all the time. I wish for more time because I would say different things now. I would ask different things. But I mean, it's crazy at my age to think that I only had 16 years with him and that I've lived more life without him than I had with him. But the impact he made was paramount on my life. I mean, my dad was everything, and I miss him like hell every single fucking day. It just doesn't go away. But the feeling that you can't go on goes away, thankfully. But the missing piece that was once there, that loss, that never goes away. And I think everybody can relate to that. So just like you or anyone else, you carry your pain with you, so does the character that you're playing. So, and I also think that's why I was so drawn to this particular story, because everyone in this game has lost something, and they're trying to move forward because they have to, and they're desperately searching for meaning and connection, which is what we're all doing.
I think it's clear.
Ellie, your arm.
No.
There's some more stuff over there you can break.
What are we gonna do?
The way I see it, we got two options. Option one, you take the easy way out. It's quick and painless. I'm not a fan of option one. Two, we fight.
Fight for what? We're gonna turn into one of those things.
There are a million ways we should have died before today. And a million ways we can die before tomorrow. But we fight for every second we get to spend with each other. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up. I don't want to give that up. My vote? Let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
Next week on the official The Last of Us podcast.
We don't have to do this.
After all we've been through. I love that that's the story, because we're so flawed as humans.
You and your friend killed how many men?
I think love is the thing that connects all of it.
Tell him that Ellie is the little girl that broke your fucking finger.
There's this whole philosophical debate of how far are you willing to go to protect your child?
You keep finding something to fight for.
It can't be for nothing.
The official The Last of Us podcast is produced by PlayStation and Spoke Media. It's hosted by me, Christian Spicer, and written by Brigham Mosley. Our Sony PlayStation team includes Charlie Yater, Christian Cardona, and Carrie Surtees. Our Naughty Dog team includes Arnie Meyer and Scott Lowe. Our production team is Carson McCain, Kelly Kolf, Trey Jones, Reyes Mendoza, and Alicia Force. This episode was mixed by Evan Arnett, who contributed additional sound design and music. Today's episode included interviews with Neil Druckmann, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and Alexandria Neonaki. Executive producers are Aaliyah Tavakolian and Keith Reynolds. Thanks for listening.
So, is this everything you were hoping for?
It's got its ups and downs, but you can't deny the view, though.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
What's the other option?
Go back to Tommy's. Be done with this whole damn thing.
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.
Welcome back to the official The Last of Us podcast. I'm Christian Spicer. Last episode, we left off with the incredible DLC chapter Left Behind. We cut back and forth from Ellie's present, caring for an unconscious Joel, and her past, having just been bitten by the infected alongside her first love, Riley. We see the depths of Ellie's feelings for these two fixtures in her life, and how there's nothing she won't do for the ones she loves.
This won't last very long.
Winter is my favorite. Again, that beautiful moment when we see the snow on the ground, the beautiful little cute bunny, and then just the arrow, and that has been shot by Ellie. And then one of my favorite moments in the game is when Ellie's just standing there, and you push forward on the stick, and you realize, oh, now I'm in control of her. And the last time that you were in control of anybody besides Joel was Sarah. And so for that to come full circle.
There was something really thrilling when we were focus testing the game. You know, we do these play tests weekly by the time we wrap up production to make sure people aren't getting stuck at areas and to find bugs. And they would get to that part. And this is what I love. It's so unique to our medium because you never get this kind of statement anywhere else where it's like, and the person would go, oh my God, I am Ellie. And all of a sudden, like, they play differently. They're, and even though like mechanically there's a lot of overlap, some things are different with Ellie. But just the way they kind of approach the world was very different for them as this character. And all of a sudden you create all this new empathy and connection to this character that you didn't have before. And it's just something really beautiful about our medium, about games. So the story, right, is about this unit of these two characters and how I think on their own, they would have perished. Ellie maybe like from not having Joel's protection early on, but I think Joel would have died emotionally without Ellie. I think she would have never brought the good that exists within him out. It's funny, as we're here talking about Winter and we haven't touched on David at all.
Name's David. This here's my friend James. We're from a larger group. Women, children. We're all very, very hungry. Well, maybe we could trade you for some of that meat there. What do you need?
Medicine. Do you have any antibiotics?
We do. Back at the camp. You're welcome to follow us.
I'm not following you anywhere. Buddy boy can go get it. He comes back with what I need. The deer is all yours. Anyone else shows up...
You put one right between my eyes.
That's right.
2 bottles of the penicillin in a syringe. Make it fast.
With Sam, like Ellie confides in Sam that her biggest fear is ending up alone. is not having someone. And here she finds herself in winter alone. I mean, Joel is unconscious. And here is this man that we're purposefully painting him like, he's very kind and understanding.
I'll take that rifle.
Of course.
And he's always honest with her. He never lies to her. And yet there's something within Ellie that just is repulsed by this guy, that she doesn't ever fully trust him. So there's something that, even though Joel has done all these horrible things, I think Ellie always recognized that there's good within him. And I think that's why she was so drawn to him even early on, in a way that she's not to David.
You really shouldn't be out here all on your own.
I don't like company.
I see. What's your name?
Why?
Look, I understand it's not easy to trust a couple of strangers. Whoever's hurt, you clearly care about them. Sure, it's going to be just fine.
We'll see.
And let's talk about David because, woof, right? Like, how do you go about creating this seemingly nice guy cannibal?
I remember at some point during production, Nolan North was at the studio. And while he was at the studio, I was like, hey, let me show you part of the game. And he's like, okay, cool, because he didn't really see much of what we were doing as this other project. So showed him that whole sequence. And he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, you guys are doing this whole other game here while we're making Uncharted 3. And he's like, you got to give me a role in this, like something. I just let me be in it. I'm like, all right, Nolan North wants to be in this game. I'm gonna give him a role. Nolan North's gonna play the Cannibal King, like the opposite of Nathan Drake. But actually, because he was put in it, I wanted to do him right by it. Like, I wanted to give the character interesting meat, interesting dimension. And I think it's because of that the character became a lot more interesting. And it was like, okay, how do you humanize a cannibal? That was a lot of the conversation I had with Nolan. I was like, I don't want you to play the bad guy. I want you to play someone that has to make difficult decisions to help his people survive. Of course, the one big flaw that this guy has is that he's attracted to Ellie as well. He doesn't have this cannibalism. He also has this other aspect. And we wanted to say he's got this, underneath all the facade of like niceness and good charismatic qualities that he has, there is something kind of brewing, and once like he can't have something, then he starts losing it. But we wanted to hold off on that as long as possible and present him as humanly as possible. So one of the tricks we have where like we want to get you to trust someone is to, okay, well, we have really tense mechanics. We have combat that like puts you on edge, that we could kind of ratchet up the difficulty where you barely survive, and you literally have to rely on David to survive a sequence.
Hope you know how to use that thing.
I've had some practice.
No matter what, we have to keep them out. Nice shot, kid. You weren't kidding. You're a better shot with that thing than I am. Hey, kid, you all right?
I'm fine.
More clickers. Come on, doors this way. Hey, kid.
Yeah?
I think we did it.
Like we killed all of them?
I'll check the bridge.
No infected.
No infected. What'd I tell you? All right, let's head on back. Check on that buck of ours. Well, you handled yourself pretty nice back there. I'd say we make a pretty good team.
And that's where we came up with the whole kind of cabin sequence where all these infected are coming in, and you and David have to survive together. And he saves you multiple times in these very specific ways throughout that sequence. And you're like, okay, well, this guy maybe is not that bad, even though I'm getting like a weird vibe from him, but he can save me. And then, of course, he reveals who he is and that he's been in charge of these people that you ran into in the university and you fought and killed.
Now, you see, I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
I do. And I can prove it to you. Now, this winter, that's been especially cruel. A few weeks back, I sent a group of men out a nearby town to look for food. Only a few came back. They said that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. And get this, he's a crazy man traveling with a little girl. You see, everything happens for a reason.
But he doesn't hold Ellie responsible because Ellie's a kid, and he sees the strength that Ellie has within her, and that's part of the draw for him, is recruiting her, is like bringing her over to his people. Ellie rejects that. And then it was important to play Ellie protecting Joel, first by like being on horseback and drawing them away from the house where she has kept Joel unconscious and was giving him the medicine that she just got.
Joel? I only managed to get a little bit of food. But I did get this. Move your arm. Oh. Here we go. Sorry. Hold on. That's it. You're gonna make it. Oh, fuck. They tracked me. I'm gonna draw them away from here. I'll come back for you. There's the exit.
Relax. Keeping you alive here. There you go. There you go.
The character of David. Tell me one thing that David did that was wrong. You tell me one thing that makes him the bad guy. I can state a case that David is, he and Joel could be the mirror images of each other. They both are looking out for those that they love and protect. That both of them are willing to care for Ellie. And the only time that he actually takes action against Ellie is when she tries to kill him. Now, I think that we see his truest nature, that you don't, David is not someone to fuck with, but I don't think that he's just like snowblining her the entire way. I think that he genuinely is like, come be a part of us. I'll look after you. I'll make sure that you're taken care of. And yeah, you're probably going to eat, Peter over there eventually.
I mean, it's some heavy shit. So it's like, I remember I read all of those scenes and I was just sitting at a TGI Fridays like, oh my God, this is intense and I can't wait to shoot it.
How are you feeling?
Super.
Here. You should eat. I know you're hungry. You've been out for quite some time.
What is it?
It's deer.
With some human helping on the side?
No, I promise. It's just the deer meat.
You're a fucking animal.
Please tell me your name.
You're so full of shit.
On the contrary, I've been quite honest with you. Now I think it's your turn. It's the only way I'm going to be able to convince the others.
Convince them of what?
That you can come around. You have heart. You're loyal. And you're special.
Oh.
And then, when David captures her and tries to threaten her and, tries to convince her, and then convincing is turned to threats when she, breaks his finger. And he can't bring her over, and that just drives him mad.
You stupid little girl. You are making it very difficult to keep you alive. What am I supposed to tell the others now?
Ellie.
What?
Tell them that Ellie is the little girl that broke your fucking finger.
Where did rage come from for you?
Oh boy.
'Cause I imagine it's a different place than loss and hurt, or is it the same and it's just then unleashed?
Boy, that's a good question. I think for me, and Neil and I kind of always joke about this, and not to reveal too much about myself, but I can be a very angry person. And that's an emotion for me as an actor that is very accessible for me. I'm not saying that's a positive thing, but I know that comes from loss for me, because it's this place in me that had someone taken from me too soon, and that rebellious anger is still in me. And I think it will always be there, and I kind of don't want it to go away, because there are times where I feel like I want it there. And sometimes it's not great, but I think most of the time that's the part of me that is able to defend myself and stand up for myself in situations.
Wakey. Come on.
Let's go!
I warned you.
I'm infected!
Really?
So are you. Right there. Roll up my sleeve. Look at it!
I'll play along.
What'd you say? Everything happens for a reason, right?
What the hell is that? She would have turned by now. It can't be real. Looks pretty fucking real to me. You're easy to track. How did you do it? It's all right. There's nowhere to go.
Again, we're trying to play with familiar tropes and then subverting them. And that's what makes these beats interesting, is that to say, okay, when Ellie is captured by David and he's chasing after her and you have this whole boss fight in this restaurant that's on fire, and you're playing that and you're feeling the tension of that, and you're feeling that you don't have the equipment necessary to defeat this guy, like Ellie is this kid and here is a guy that has a gun and a machete and he's coming after you. And then Joel comes back to life and you're playing as Joel.
Oh, Christ. I gotta find her. Holy shit. Ellie.
Finding out where Ellie is, and you're feeling the tension of like, okay, I want these two characters to get back together. And we're jumping now back and forth at faster and faster rhythm, almost like some song that's picking up speed. That you're imagining, okay, here's how it's going to play out. Ellie's going to be just cornered by David, and right before he kills her, Joel's going to burst through the door and save her, and kill David, and then they'll be okay. But it was important for us not to do that, to say, no, Ellie's going to save herself. Like, she actually saves herself before Joel gets there. And actually it became more interesting that Joel saves her emotionally and not physically. That, again, those roles have shifted, where, like, in the past, Ellie was the more emotional, mature one and was able to lean on Joel, and now Joel is having to take on that role instead of the physical protector. That we saw that Ellie is just as capable. So it was important for you to play all the way through and feel that.
So then we get to that moment where Ellie is, yes, she has shot people, but it has all been in a defense. But this moment, she got David, she incapacitated him. And where Joel finds her is the moment where she transcends just incapacitation, and it goes into punishment. It goes into this cathartic, I'm taking this out on everybody. This is for Riley. This is for Tess. This is for Sam. This is for Henry. This is for my mom. This is for everybody. This is for this world. David's face becomes the punching bag for all of that.
Fuck you.
You think you know me? Huh? Well, let me tell you something. You have no idea what I'm capable of.
It was a part of her journey that she kind of needed to go through to see that she could take care of herself. And Ellie winning this battle shows that she can take care of herself without Joel. And we needed to see that. And the audience needed to see that. And she's taking all of the knowledge that she's learned from Joel and the life experience that she's had up until this point. And it shows how strong her will to survive is, that she just doesn't give up. I love that Joel is there for her, though, not to fight her battles, but to be there for her in the aftermath.
Ellie! Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel.
It's okay.
Neil had framed this moment. He was like, I don't care what you say, just whatever you would say to comfort her. But I want you to know that the only thing I need you to say is baby girl. The fact that is, now we see Joel the father again. Whether it was a skinned knee from soccer practice with Sarah to this moment, there's one thing that Joel knew how to do very, very well, and that was to comfort in the time of pain.
And it's such a big moment for also the audience, too, to see that of like these two people that have gone this whole time without really, not showing affection to each other in the ways that we do in the world. And you see that and you're like, oh, he's also breaking down, all of the walls come down for him. And to see that, and she recognizes that as well, of like, oh my God, you're taking care of me in this moment and you are here. And it's both of them finally making that connection.
Why was that baby girl, why was that line so important for this moment in the game?
Because it's the point where she has become his daughter. She's not a replacement for Sarah, but she's just, at this point, she's just as important. And that phrase has become a symbol for that for him. And then everything else beyond that, I honestly don't remember what the dialogue is, but it was just something to help her get strength to get on her feet and get out of there. And it felt like that's not as important than just letting the moment kind of sit and letting the music take over, because the music now is doing the heavy lifting. I remember we talked about Joel's watch and how that becomes a symbol for the player, so we don't have to have characters talk about things. We could direct an image and then that takes your mind. The music is doing the same thing. So when Sarah dies, there's this theme that we end up calling All Gone that plays. And then we play it again here when Joel is embracing Ellie and says, baby girl. And we play it again at the very end when he's carrying Ellie out of the hospital. And it's done that way by design because we want your mind to subconsciously go to the moment Sarah dies and string these moments together without us being explicit about it. I feel like maybe we haven't talked enough about Gustavo's score and how much it's helping the emotional impact. But that piece of music is so beautiful and so moving, it felt like we didn't need any more words.
My name is Gustavo Santaolalia, and I am the composer of the music for The Last of Us. The moment that I met Neil, and then Neil actually told me the story, and I could sense how different this game was from any other game that existed before. It really was a no-brainer. I mean, I knew from the very, very beginning when I talked to Neil that I wanted to be involved in the game.
How would you describe the character of the score as it fits into The Last of Us?
Yeah, well, I think it definitely has an element of melancholy and say, certain element of despair. But confronted with this situation that really this sort of apocalyptic situation, there is a strong human element to the music, to an emotional human connection. But yes, I think the important thing for me was to have this emotional content that actually didn't go into simply something sad. I'm talking about especially in things like All Gone, for example, in the particular theme. In other themes, like the theme, right, that has some epic connotations too. But more like a human epic, more like an epic of the everyday man, and not so like an epic of, like a gladiator movie, you know what I mean? I will create pieces that I really don't know to what character they belong, but they are inspired by them, not necessary. I think some of these things Neil actually had more clear than I, but I do know that, for example, for me, the Ronroco, with its tenderness and its almost feminine quality, I had a connection with the Ronroco with Ellie, And I had a connection with the 6-string bass with Joel. And I guess the guitar kind of connects those two worlds. Basically, that in the timbres, I will connect the Ronroco with Ellie and the 6-string bass with Joel, and the guitar kind of like in between both of them. I knew that it was going to be something, a very personal score. I think all my work has that element. But so the connection with the guitar and the Ronroco is a natural one. Those are my main instruments. So naturally, I was driven to them. The thing is what to do with them. But the 6-string bass, that was a discovery because I've never used that instrument really before. And this is there's a whole breed of basses, modern basses that have more than 4 strings. Usually, the bass is an instrument known for having 4 strings, right? This bass is a bass that comes from the 60s. It's a Fender bass 6-string that actually is an octave lower than a guitar. It's a very peculiar bass. And that was something that really wasn't planned. It just came by accident in a way because I didn't have a bass at hand. So that was a fantastic discovery because I've never used that instrument before. I have instruments that I get sometimes and they're there waiting for their moment. And that was definitely the moment for that instrument. But one of the things that I love about Neil's writing and Neil's conception, of the world, and this extends to The Last of Us 2 also, is this thing, about really creating real life people. And, people in real life are good and are bad too. They're not, usually, of course, there are people that are just truly only mean people, and, but in the general majority, we're all full of contradictions, and sometimes we can be good and sometimes we can be bad, or we can be good for some people and bad for others, with our actions and with our thoughts. And I think that's what makes these stories so rich.
How did you look to incorporate those contradictions into the soundscape?
Sometimes, I juxtapose something that can be very, very, very spiritual and very soothing with something that is very brutal. something that is very rough, you know. I love working with the roughness too, you know, the textures or sounds or noise, you know. I mean, one of the things that I love is to actually, you know, people try to avoid the noise of the amp, for example, you know, that you have the 60 hertz or something that is there, you know, or the noises in the guitar, you know, between notes when you slide from one note to another one. Those are things that I treasure. The same thing with mistakes. You know, the concept of mistake, I take it totally in a different light. For me, mistakes sometimes can be great assets. Mistakes, as somebody sometimes said, you know, can be hidden intention. I always pay attention to a mistake, because a mistake can be just a mistake, or it could be, you know, a new route that you never could have imagined. So in the juxtaposition of timbres that can be soothing and at the same time aggressive with another instrument, that those contradictions, the use of a full track full of, you know, just packed with sounds to something that is absolutely void of everything and it's just one single instrument. The use of silence, the space, you know, a silence that becomes eloquent. All those things, I think, somehow express these contradictions.
What do you hope people remember about the game and their experiences with it as after they've experienced it?
One thing I'm sure is common to all of the people is that they all have been emotionally touched by the game. And I think that's a very different thing, and something that The Last of Us can be proud to achieve. Is something that will be definitely remembered, because I think sometimes, you know, well, perhaps, you know, in 20, 30, 40 years, you know, I'm you know, not going to be here, but people will hear the theme, you know, and will say, oh, remember when we used to play, you know, The Last of Us, and everything that will will definitely connect with that emotion that they had, and that emotion, in this case in particular, because of the relationship, is an emotion that is connected to love. And I think that's what people are going to remember, that love and that connection that the characters had between themselves and that they had with the characters and with the game.
Ellie!
Did you hear me?
No. What?
Look, hospital. This is where we get off. Let's go, kiddo. You feel that breeze, huh? I tell you, on a day like this, I just sit on my porch, pick away at my six string. You know, once we're done with this whole thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. Yeah, I reckon you'd really like that. What do you say, huh? Ellie, I'm talking to you.
Huh? Oh. Yeah, sure, that sounds great.
Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You just kind of seem extra quiet today.
Oh. Sorry.
No, it's not. It's fine.
Okay, turn the corner, because now we're about to go into a completely different place. The next section of the game is not so much about how Joel has changed, but now how Ellie has changed. Joel definitely demonstrates a different behavior. He's a little bit more optimistic and teach you how to play guitar. We're going to get there, and he's talking about all of the positive, optimistic things, giving her hope. Joel is finally speaking about the future in terms of hope. And it's almost through the filter of it sounds so far away, not only just what he's talking about, but even just almost the way that it's treated, because Ellie is so far away. And if you even notice, the distance between the two characters is further than it's been. the thing that you've been doing throughout the entire game, the entire time is like, okay, we have this thing, come help me move it over. I go up, I boost you up. This is what we do. And you turn and
Ellie?
She's not there. And you have to remind her to do that.
Ellie?
What?
The ladder. Come on.
Right. Oh my God.
What is it? Ellie! Ellie!
You gotta see this.
What is it? What the hell is...
Are you kidding me? Come on, hurry up. You see this? Shh, don't scare it.
I won't.
What are you doing?
It's all right. Come here. There you go. Hurry up, come on. Go on.
Hey there. So fucking cool. Oh, where's it off to? Here, come on, let's go.
Slow down, kiddo.
Come on. Hurry up, come on. Oh, man. Wow. Look at those things.
So, is this everything you were hoping for?
It's got its ups and downs, but you can't deny the view, though.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
What's the other option?
Go back to Tommy's. Just be done with this whole damn thing.
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.
My name is Almudena Soria, and The Last of Us was my first game as an animator at Naughty Dog, so it's very special to me. I worked mostly on Ellie as a player, as a non-playable character, as well as the giraffe sequence. It's such a special game I think for everyone that worked on it. It was something kind of unexpected until people started playing it. Because we're so close to it, we, work many years on it, and until everything comes together with cutscenes, with dialogue, with graphics, lighting. Once you actually played it recently at home, and it's just like, it still holds up.
A big part about what makes this game so special, I think, is that combination of the story and the technical aspects, like the animation and the things that you and the entire team brought to the table. And I'd love it if you could talk about how you think, the nuance and the animation and all of that contributed to the story, and then also how you think it brought everything to the table in terms of the entire experience.
So for me, what we do with the animation is, first of all, we keep it grounded, because that's the type of game The Last of Us is. And keeping it grounded make the players feel more connected with the characters they're playing. That's definitely the core of the animation style we're going for. And then we try to make the characters look like what they're feeling. So starting with the sequence of the giraffe level, basically. We see Ellie that she has a very closed posture. She's holding the backpack. She's looking down. That transmits what she's feeling. We created this gesture system for The Last of Us Part 1, which we still use now because it's really, really cool to create these moments. So for the animation as well, we want to as I say, we want the players to feel what the characters are feeling. And in the case of you're playing Joel at this time, so when you boost her, she's not responding. It's like, what's happening? You kind of probably feel a little frustrated. It's like, that's what he would feel like. Then you boost her and then she shoots off and it's like, what's happening? So Joel feels curious about where Ellie's going and the player feels curious too.
And we talked about that moment where Ellie's kind of closed off and she's on her backpack and kind of, looking at the ground. I'm curious if you have anecdotes or insight on moments where it was the opposite, where Neil has described this first game as being primarily about love, and kind of how you and the team address showing that physically with Ellie as that relationship blossoms and grows.
Yeah, we have a lot of moments. So after the giraffe sequence, we have this pretty heavy dialogue where Ellie brings Sarah, Joel's daughter that had been murdered. So that's very, very important because I feel Joel cares about Ellie so much is because he's suffered the loss of her daughter. So at that moment, Ellie say, "Hey, I have something for you," and she hands this picture of Joel and Sarah, which is, I talked in that moment, and Joel did too.
I got something for you. Here. Maria showed this to me, and I stole it. I hope you don't mind.
Well, no matter how hard you try, I guess you can't escape your past. Thank you.
Okay, I have to bring this up because it's one of the most iconic scenes in the game. Talk to me about the giraffes.
It was a very interesting evolution on that level. I remember when Peter Field, the designer of that level, we have level kickoffs in the theater. So every member of the team that is involved in that level, we get together and the designer present what the level flow would be like. So he started all sitting down and he's presenting this level, no combat, no traversal, and just giraffes. Everyone was very skeptical of that working because it's like, no combat, like nothing. All right. So he was a true believer. I think Neil was too, obviously. And once things started coming along together, everyone was like, oh, okay. It's an opportunity to give the players some rest, enjoy the beautiful overgrown environments, the wildlife that the lack of humanity, brings out there. And, I'm not sure why giraffes were chosen, but I think it was the best choice because it's such a majestic animal that everyone likes, and so unexpected that when you see it, you are really surprised.
I'm curious how the game affected you and kind of what that experience was for you when it was all said and done.
So the first thing I thought was like, I don't want to play any other game that is not like this one. Seriously, it's like living in the story. So I really enjoyed that. And since then, I try to find games that are more like that. So I can, live the characters, live the life they're living. So yeah, as a human being, it's just how, and also everything started coming together at the end, which, we have all these levels, they're like scattered, like you kind of know what's going on until you sit down and start playing through the whole game. It's when you realize, oh, wow, this is a story, this is a game. At the beginning, there's like levels that are not even online, or dialogue is not in, like cutscenes is still not in, or like in very rough form. It's like the last year, 6 months where everything is together, the lighting comes on, the sound is on, the effects, it's just, and it happens in a very short amount of time. Everyone is working constantly. But when everything comes together, it's where you realize, like, wow, yeah, this is something else.
So Joel and Ellie make their way down the stairwell.
Look, I know you mean well, but there's there's no halfway with this. Once we're done, we'll go wherever you want. Okay?
Well, I ain't leaving without you. So let's go wrap this up.
They're heading to the hospital.
Well, this place takes me back.
How so?
It was right after everything went down. I ended up in a triage just like this. And everywhere you looked, you just saw families torn apart. The whole damn world seemed to have turned upside down in a blink.
Is that after you lost Sarah?
Yes, it was.
I can't imagine losing someone you love like that. Losing everything that you know. I'm sorry, Joel.
That's okay, Ellie.
This time it's gonna be different. I just know it.
What do you mean?
They're gonna be there. The Fireflies. I'm sure of it.
They find themselves in a flooded tunnel, hopping from makeshift platform to platform, when they're pulled underwater.
Hands in the air!
She's not breathing.
Hands in the fucking air!
Come on.
Ultimately, what happens is that Joel is saved by Ellie in the bus when he goes into the water, and in that she dies. Like she drowns. And then again, what we see is like, no, don't bring me to this point where we're finally good, and I'm gonna lose her again. And then we wake up in the hospital room.
Welcome to the Fireflies. Sorry about that. They didn't know who you were.
And Ellie?
She's all right. They brought her back. You came all this way. How'd you do it?
It was her. She fought like hell to get here. Maybe it was meant to be.
I lost most of my crew crossing the country. I pretty much lost everything. And then you show up and somehow we find you just in time to save her. Maybe it was meant to be.
Take me to her.
You don't have to worry about her anymore. We'll take care of her.
I worry. Just let me see her, please.
You can't. She's being prepped for surgery.
And then, of course, the whole revelation of that this plot was always designed to be like that. You basically just transported our sacrificial lamb. So you didn't have to save her. You know, we're gonna kill her anyway. The girl could have gotten here dead or alive. And just the pure Sisyphean frustration that comes from that is like, what have I done all this for? It was like, it was for nothing. This was just this rush of nihilism at Joel. But now he has stakes in it. Now it really matters. And it's like, all right, you guys done fucked up. Like this is, you have awoken the beast because you have activated now every part of me.
The hell do you mean surgery?
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine. A vaccine.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
Find someone else.
There is no one else.
Listen, you were gonna show me where
Stop. I get it. But whatever it is you think you're going through right now is nothing to what I have been through. I knew her since she was born. I promised her mother I would look after her.
Then why are you letting this happen?
Because this isn't about me, or even her. There is no other choice here.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that bullshit.
March him out of here. He tries anything, shoot him. Don't waste this gift, Joel.
Marlene and Joel their similarity is that they both care for Ellie. And Marlene were revealing that knew Ellie's mom and made this promise to Ellie's mom that she would watch over this girl. And now she has to go back on that promise in order to fulfill the Firefly's whole kind of objective, which is to restore mankind. This is the thing that she's dedicated her life to, means killing the daughter of someone she cared about. I know Marlene didn't know this is the consequences of bringing Ellie here. She is surprised by that as well. However, she accepts it in a way Joel doesn't. And she's wrestled with it. And now she's already by the time Joel shows up in the hospital, she's already come to terms with that decision, which is why she feels like she makes the mistake of keeping Joel alive, because she sees here's the one person in this hospital that could understand what she's gone through, except he doesn't, because he doesn't agree with her final decision. But her mercy is what actually ends up killing her. And I guess her other sin is that she didn't run this by Ellie. Like, neither one of them, they're both playing the protective parent that it thinks they know what's best for this kid and the world. But neither one of them is asking the kid, what do you think is best for you?
Go on. Move. I said move. What the fuck are you doing? Keep walking. I said keep walking.
Where was the operating room?
I ain't got time for this. Where? Top floor, the far end.
Passion about me sometimes.
Sweet Jesus.
Doctor? What are you doing in here? Don't come any closer.
No! You fucking animal!
Carrie, shut the hell up.
Come on, baby girl. I got you. I got you. Oh, shit. Shit. I'm getting you out of here, girl. I got you. I got you.
I got him in my sight. I said get back! Hey, stop!
You can't save her. Even if you get her out of here, then what? How long before she's torn to pieces by a pack of clickers? That is, if she hasn't been raped and murdered first.
It ain't for you to decide.
It's what she'd want. And you know it. Look. You can still do the right thing here. She won't feel anything.
You have so many games and movies and books and other stuff in this genre where it's about saving the world, and the hero at the end saves the world. And it just doesn't feel real. And it doesn't capture something as interesting about human or, right, this theme of like this unconditional love a parent feels for their child is that it could be psychotic. That it could drive you to insane things of like how protective you could be of your child. So this idea of that you would get to the end and then choose to not save the world felt so more honest to me about like what we would do in this situation, and that it's ultimately like there is no cure. It's not about that. It's about saving the ones we love. And playing someone that could easily be perceived as the villain, that at the end of it, you could be the villain. I know a lot of players saw it that way. And I like the idea that they were seeing it that way and that people make the argument for Joel as the bad guys. And to me, it's like you can make the same argument with equal weight that the Fireflies are the bad guys. That here are people that are willing to kill a kid in the hopes of making a vaccine. And then it gets to this whole philosophical conversation that I love. It's like, do the ends justify the means? At what point in pursuing good have you become bad? And there are no clear answers here. There isn't like, okay, well, here's the line. It's like, if you kill 10 people to save 1 million, then that's okay. But if you kill 100, that's too much. Like, no, I don't know how you draw those lines. So I just love that for Joel, and hopefully by now the player, they understand that, like, that doesn't matter. Like, Ellie could save 1 million people, or she could save 2 people. She could save all of mankind. That doesn't matter. That's his daughter. There is no price you can put on your kid's head. It just doesn't exist. I think for Ellie, she was willing to accept at any cost, bringing meaning to this journey. Even when they get to the very end, right before they're at the Firefly Hospital, Joel tells Ellie, let's go back. We don't need to do this, because he's afraid of, like, yeah, you're already seeing he doesn't care. He doesn't care about what this would mean, but it's just putting her at risk for one more day. Why do, like, let's go back. We could start a life. And she rejects that. She just says, after everything we've done, after everything I've done, everything we've been through, it can't be for nothing, right? She needs to find meaning here. And she ultimately, well, whether she does or doesn't, I guess it's a little bit open to interpretation, but she's left not with what she thought this would lead to, right? She thought this would lead to a cure. And then she wakes up in the car and is told there is no cure.
What the hell am I wearing?
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off.
What happened?
We found the fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie. People that are immune. There's dozens, actually. Ain't done 'em a damn bit of good, neither. They've stopped looking for a cure. I'm taking us home. I'm sorry.
When I first played through the game, I was like, oh, I absolutely would have made the same decision as him. And when I played through it recently, I was kind of able to see for the first time why so many people were not shocked by his decision, but couldn't believe what he did. And whereas before I was like, how? Who would not do that? You know, for me, Ashley, I don't think I would do anything differently than what Joel did. I don't have any kids, but I have 7 nieces and nephews. And if this happened with any one of them, there's no way I would leave them on that table. I would steal them and kill every single person that was in my path to save them. But I don't think I would lie to them. I think that is where the fault was with Joel, but I get why he lied, because he can't live with her being disappointed in him. And I think he knows that she'll be upset and possibly never forgive him. And I think that's the same part of himself that pushes people away. You know, he lives his life with a lot of rules and sets up these parameters to protect himself. And he still is doing it until the end. But I think he has realized, wow, here's someone in this world that I care about, and they care about me. And that is more important to me.
Well, looks like we're walking.
All right.
It's actually kind of pretty, ain't it?
Yeah.
Don't think I ever told you, but Sarah and I used to take hikes like this. I think the two of you would have been good friends. I think you really would have liked her. I know she'd have liked you.
I bet I would have.
Oh. Just a little bit further now.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston, back when I was bitten, I wasn't alone. My best friend was there, and she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So, she says, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess, and then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you, no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
I think Ellie wants to know the truth, right? Which is why she's been mulling this question, this idea of like that she wants to make Joel swear to her that he's telling the truth because something definitely feels off to her. But then she also got this thing that she's been looking for the whole time, is like someone that's not going to leave, someone that's going to love her unconditionally. And can you reconcile those two things? Can you be with someone that has wronged you in this way, or that has lied in such a way to make you lose trust? And there's this, again, this whole philosophical debate of how far are you willing to go to protect your child as far as Joel's arc. And this idea of taking him to the end of the line. Like, what's the most extreme act he would have to take? Because every time there's an obstacle, like, right, characters will take a path of least resistance. Whatever the least they have to do to achieve their goal, that's what they're going to do. So you put an obstacle, so they have to take a more extreme choice. And another obstacle, they have to make more extreme choice. Okay, now he's like, Tess has died. He sacrificed that. Okay, now he's sacrificing his safety. Okay, now he's sacrificing... he opens himself up to loss in a way that he hasn't before. So he's starting to sacrifice himself. Okay, he's sacrificing all of mankind to say, okay, where do you go after that? It's like, oh, he's willing to sacrifice his relationship with her to save her. That's the ultimate sacrifice that he could make. It's like he's lying to her, knowing that this could be it. She might never trust him again, but he's got to do that so she doesn't go back to that hospital and try to get the cure.
I love that that's the story, because we're so flawed as humans, and that the hero of the story, the main character in the story, Joel, is so flawed. And we need to see that, because when we see it, we're like, yeah, I can relate to that because I'm flawed too. But this particular game and this experience was absolutely the greatest thing I've ever worked on. I loved the story and the cast, the crew. Naughty Dog is so amazing to work with. And I haven't quite worked on something still to this day where when I was on set, I was inspired constantly. And as an artist in any form, you're always looking for that thing to sort of be inspired, that muse. And it's a little selfish, that you need that thing. But this was absolutely that thing for me. I learned so much.
I would offer this story. I was in Indiana at a convention, and a father comes up to me and he says, I got that game, and I started playing it, and I got to the prologue. I was like, yeah. And he goes, I have a daughter. And at that time, she was a baby. And he said, I got to the end of the prologue and I put the controller down. I went to my daughter's room and I held her and I cried. And I said, I understand. He goes, no, you don't. He said, I never went back to that game. And he said, every day that I came home, I would walk into my house and I would look and I'd see where that controller sat in the same place that I left it. He goes, 6 months went by and I finally decided, all right, I'm not going to let this thing beat me. And I picked up the controller and I played. And I finally get to the giraffe moment. And I put the controller down again and I cried. And he said, it dawned on me that sometimes we have to go through the hard times in order to find our giraffe moment.
I mean, I would love for The Last of Us to have that kind of impact on people's lives, that they remember where they were and the characters have stuck with them, and some of the morally ambiguous situation they've been in have raised some interesting questions for them in their lives. Just that is incredible. And I guess seeing some of that right now, years later, you could like see that there's communities on Reddit that this game has brought together. There are people that got married because they were both fans of The Last of Us and that have named their first daughter Ellie. So just the fact that this game has been able to connect people in such a positive way has been incredible. And we now have people that work at Naughty Dog that have gotten into games and have come to work at Naughty Dog because the game inspired them to make video games. And again, I can think to games that have done that for me. I couldn't ask for anything more, right? It's the most incredible feeling that you're able to now somehow inspire someone that will make the next great game. Is incredibly humbling and just inspiring.
Next week on the official The Last of Us podcast.
I mean, this game absolutely just shows you how hate can absolutely wreak havoc on a family and an entire community of people.
You know, there's endure and survive physically, but what does that mean for your soul? What does that mean mentally? How do you live with yourself?
Well, love is hopefully one of those things that can feel more universal.
They didn't need to make a sequel, but the story needed to be told in part 2. And to not have granted the opportunity for this story to continue would have been a grave disservice to the story, to the characters, and to the world.
But before we dive into the second game, over the next few days, we'll be dropping 3 shorter episodes, which we're calling Artifacts. We'll be talking with actor-cosplayer Mika Burton, TV writer Mark Bernardin, and film director Nia DaCosta about their experiences playing the game and how The Last of Us has affected their lives and the world of gaming at large. Be sure to keep an eye on your feed for those episodes and our official The Last of Us Part 2 discussion. The official The Last of Us podcast is produced by PlayStation and Spoke Media. It's hosted by me, Christian Spicer, and written by Brigham Mosley. Our Sony PlayStation team